All right, guys. Good morning. It is Friday. I started the stream a little bit early because look at the S&P 500 futures running up. Look at gold futures running up big right now, up to 44.30s. Look at the NASDAQ here. The NASDAQ is flying up. It's at 24.700s right now. This is after we got this specific tweet right here. So we got this specific tweet. The U.S. president tweeted this just a second ago. He said, "I am pleased to report that the United States and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East, based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against the Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention to this matter, U.S. President Donald Trump." Now, some resolution potentially in the Middle East is making everything that was down basically rebound today. NASDAQ up to 24.700s here. Almost 24.800s, almost back up to 25,000, and it was under 24,000 when I first looked at it this morning. So the NASDAQ was under 24,000 when I looked at it. It was at like 23,800s. It is now almost to $25,000, which is crazy. Gold has been down big on reduced odds of rate cuts and more hike odds this year, and you can see gold is elevated now as well. Gold back up to 44s, almost 4,500s. We'll see if that continues. Yeah, I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just reporting the news that's making the market fly up right now in markets here. So, yeah, this is the news that's making markets fly up. Again, the president said, "I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of ongoing meetings." Now, this is after markets woke up really scared this morning because on Saturday he issued a 48-hour deadline. So on Saturday he did issue a 48-hour deadline. And in that deadline, he basically said, "Hey, you got 48 hours or we're going to begin striking." And so, yeah, we have a new 5-day pulse, and markets are liking this. I think, to be honest here, I think markets are liking this. Still not on my X feed. Hey, this is the big news, man. Honestly, I was looking at markets getting ready to start my stream. And as soon as I looked at I had gold's chart up. As soon as I looked at gold, I was like, whoa, like something just happened in gold. And then I checked the S&P and I was like, okay, something's happened in the S&P. And then I looked on X, and I immediately saw it. So yeah, if your X isn't showing this story, you got to find some other people to follow, brother. But yeah. Jim Cramer just tweeted Bull's rule for AM. $265,000 worth, or $265 million worth of crypto shorts were just liquidated in the past 15 minutes following this tweet. If we look at Bitcoin here, let's see if we hold these gains though. Bitcoin back over 70. It was at 68, so Bitcoin did pop back over 70,000. You can see Bitcoin's big rise here. Look at Bitcoin fly up. Man, so crazy move, honestly. That's why I usually don't start the stream early. I try to keep it at 7:15 market time every time. But man, I wanted to cover this. This is big. This is huge, like a big move up fast. And so just be careful if you're trading right now. If you're short-term trading this, just be careful. Here's the S&P, 6,700s for the S&P futures. Yeah, oil is going to be falling, I'm sure. Right now, oil, WTI crude under 80 or under $90 a barrel now, and this is when it was well over 100 earlier. Brent crude is going to be dumping as well, of course. Yeah, look at Brent. Yeah, markets are basically celebrating this. Look at Brent dump. Does this hold, guys? Is the question I have for the chat right now. Does this hold? Good morning from snowy Maine. It's 28 Fahrenheit with 6 inches of snow. It's got to be a rug pull. 9:30. It's all over. Crash and dash. I hope y'all are wrong, man. I hope we hold. Gold, is it popping? I mean, it's not. What is this? This is gold right here. Gold definitely popped. Here's when the news came out right here. Is this a pop for gold, guys? Let me know in chat right now. Is this a pop for gold? I believe it is. Do we hold now, guys? So again, if you're just tuning in, AG Finance is saying, what happened? The president said that they have had talks with Iran regarding ending the hostilities, and they're now on a 5-day pause on Iran strikes. So this is the full quote. I'll quote it again since it's really relevant for what's going on today. This was on Truth, and I hate Truth Social. I really do. I'm not against it. Like, look, I'm not for you. I'm not against it. But I dislike the ads. There's so many ads. I feel like I'm back in like 2005 with all these ads. This is the tweet right here. I got out of a few longs. Yeah, so this is the tweet right here. I am pleased to report. Okay, number one, he spelled this wrong. He said, I am pleased. It should be pleased, but I'm going to give him a little bit of grace with that. I am pleased is what he meant to say, to report that the U.S. of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the next week. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against the Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention, President. So that is what this tweet that is causing all of these moves here. Gold up, oil down substantially. S&P, NASDAQ, Dow all flying higher here. And this is after a really scary Friday and Sunday's open. Sunday we opened red. Friday we dropped massively. I think we're down 10% from highs now, or close to it. So we're getting close to correction territory in markets. At least we were prior to this here. Now, there's a couple ways you could go for this, and you have to understand the potential outcomes of something like this that, you know, we've seen similar things to what I'm about to say in the past. There's a couple potential outcomes. The first one is that we get the talks done and everybody agrees and there's a ceasefire and everybody celebrates, right? That's the number one. And obviously, if that happens, that's a bullish scenario. Bearish for oil, bullish for everything else, basically. The other potential outcome is if somehow over the next 5-day period, we get an escalation in tensions again. Like basically something happens where they're not really coming to agreement and both sides basically back out and then the conflict reignites stronger again, you know, and in that situation, obviously that's a bearish situation, but that's very possible here. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't know, you know, what the odds are. We'll have to look at what odds makers are showing for this, but it's possible at this point in time that we get something like that. It's also possible that they figure it out and maybe they, you know, the conflict ends and everybody celebrates. You know, both of those things could happen. You know, be very careful in the market the next few days. It's not really a big economic data week. We don't have a ton of economic data, but these things are very possible. Both of those things. You know, we could escalate further. They could disagree. They could, you know, stop having talks. And things could basically fall apart and you know, regarding talks with Iran, or this could continue and they keep getting, you know, agreements and the conflict looks like it's going to end. Either one of those things could happen, so just be careful. Let's look at the poly market odds right now and see what it's got to say regarding everything right now. So the odds of a ceasefire, where's the graph? I don't see a graph here. There's now a 27% chance we get a ceasefire by March 31st. Let's see if we got breaking here. Trending. Yeah, well, crude oil. I have to go find my charts here, but yeah. We'll see what happens here, guys. We'll see what happens. Let's look at Kalshi. Too many basketball ones right now. Politics. Will there be a U.S.-Iran nuclear deal before 2027? There's a 39% chance that's happening right now. Kalshi doesn't have as many Iran ways to vote on it. Yeah, gold's positive from... It depends on what we're talking about. Gold's red on the day still. Gold is... Okay, so gold... Let's talk about gold. Gold has been crashing down really over the last few days here. From rate cut odds evaporating last week. You know, so last week, if we take a look at the CME watch tool, right? So this is why gold has been falling. Number one, we are now having potential hike odds. Why did the market jump up? The market jumped up because the U.S. president said they have had talks regarding Iran to end the hostilities, and now he ordered a 5-day pause on Iran strikes because he's been talking with Iran, hoping that they get a deal done and they could end this conflict. As soon as they announced that, markets flew. But gold, one of the reasons gold's been falling is because we now have hike odds for this year. You can see there's even a 10% chance we get a rate hike this month, or next month. I'm sorry, in April. There's a 10% chance we get a rate hike in April. So rate cut odds are evaporating. There's now over 50% chance we get 0 cuts this year altogether. Because of that, yields are rising. You know, gold pays no yields, and so like when yields go up, less people are interested in buying gold, right? Because gold is not really a yield-paying asset. It pays, you know, it has appreciation, but it doesn't pay yields like bonds do. So when bonds become more attractive to investors, the logic is just less of them buy gold, if that makes sense. And the dollar has been strong as well, right? So the Dixie's been over 100. Gold is priced in dollars, so a stronger dollar makes it more expensive globally and reduces the demand of gold. So all of these things have made gold sell off. You know, they've also had forced liquidations in gold. If you look at gold over the last 20 days here, gold's had a tough time the last 20 days. So like when everything is selling off, like stocks, bonds, crypto, traders and funds need cash to cover margin calls, meet redemptions. And so what do? They sell one of their liquid assets like gold, and that is causing gold to drop. That's caused gold to drop since February, really. Gold has had a really weak time. You know, we also have the private credit funds gating redemptions. It's making it worse. So investors who can't get money out of private funds are selling what they can, which in some instances is gold. And so that is all the reasons gold has had a tough time over the last month or so. Hope that makes sense. But gold is bouncing back a little bit here. It's still red on the day, but what's really rebounding here, S&P now green on the session. NASDAQ now green on the session. The Dow now green on the session at 46.8. But yeah, markets are just pumped up on this news. Let's do a poll here, guys. Let's do a poll. I'm looking at Poly Market. We'll see what happens here, but there's now an 82% chance of a U.S.-Iran ceasefire by the end of this year. And so the odds of a U.S.-Iran ceasefire by the end of the year. Hey, I just joined. What's the news? So the news is that the U.S. president tweeted that they've been having talks with Iran and that we are now on a 5-day pause on Iran strikes. We can look at the full tweet again. I'll bring it up again. This is the tweet right here. He said, I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East based on the tenure and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. End quote, U.S. President. This news is pushing things this morning, but we're starting to kind of fill some of this gap back here. So we popped up a lot. We're starting to kind of come back down here. Here's the Dow. You can see the Dow at 46.65s, 46.65s. So, but here's something else that I'm seeing right now that might be relevant. I'm showing Iranian media says there were no direct or indirect contact with Trump and claims he withdrew after threatening to attack West Asia energy facilities, end quote. This is from Redbox Wire, which is a financial news service. But again, they are saying the Iranian media says there was no direct or indirect contact with the president and claims he withdrew after threatening to attack West Asia energy infrastructure. So we'll see what happens here. Honestly, look at oil though. Oil bouncing back here. So I'm like, look, oil's filled some of this gap back up here. It's probably filled about a third of the drop it made. It's back up to over $90 a barrel for WTI crude. Interesting Monday here, guys. Interesting Monday. Yeah, very interesting Monday. Who do you think is telling the truth, guys? Let me know in chat right now. I'm not political. I'm not getting into all of that. Who do you think is telling the truth? It's hard to figure out what's true and what's not in the age of social media. It really is. I'm going to do a poll right now. Does Brent crude close the month under $100 a barrel? I think that's a really good way to look at it. Does Brent crude close the month of March under $100 a barrel? Vote on that poll right now. Let me know what you guys think. The truth shall set you free. They're both lying. That's probably the most likely thing here. You know, like, you got to understand, this isn't just a conflict of physical conflict. It's a conflict of perception. 100%. And so both sides are going to say what they got to say to make themselves look the best, I think, and that's the way you have to look at it. On both sides. I'm not really picking sides, you know, in this. I'm just telling you, both sides are going to say what they got to say to make themselves look good, you know. Yeah. So again, oil and energy stuff is down though. But again, the Iranian media saying there was no direct or indirect contact with Trump after claims he withdrew after threatening to attack West Asia facilities. Interesting here. Seen a couple different people to quote this. Yeah. Yeah, so that, again, that's the one I'm worried about right now. Is it depends on who he's talking to. I hope he's telling the truth. Yeah, so again, Iranian media says there was no direct or indirect contact with Trump and claims he withdrew after threatening to attack West Asia energy facilities, according to sources. Yeah, again, guys, look, here's the story. So just to recap here, everybody, just to recap. About, what was this? Yeah, about 15 minutes ago. About 15 minutes ago, 10, you know, really about 25 minutes ago, the U.S. president tweeted saying they had been having talks with Iran regarding ending the hostilities and that we were now on a 5-day pause on strikes. Market celebrated. S&P flew up to 67s. We can look at the Dow. Dow flew up to 47s. NASDAQ flew up to almost 25,000, got up to 24.7s. So market celebrated. Oil dumped down. Here's WTI crude, dropped all the way down to 84.37 this morning. So crude fell, and that was good. But right now, recently, over the last 5 minutes, we're getting reports that the Iranian media says there was no direct or indirect contact with Trump and claims he withdrew after threatening to attack West Asia energy facilities, according to sources. The Strait is definitely not open right now. And until we get confirmation on the other side that there's a ceasefire or something like that, then, you know, I wouldn't be too optimistic about the Strait opening up anytime soon. In fact, one of the things that happened prior to this over the weekend on Saturday, Trump gave an ultimatum saying he was giving them 48 hours to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or he was going to attack their infrastructure. And they responded with saying basically like, yo, if you do that, we're going to mine the Strait, which what that means is that if they did that, even if the conflict started settling down, it would still take noticeably longer to clean everything up and really get ships safely through, if that makes sense. And so a lot of back and forth from both sides. The only thing though is like, okay, if he has been talking with them over the last 2 days, you know, he said over the last 2 days, both US and Iran had very good and productive conversations. On Saturday, he gave the ultimatum. So hopefully, maybe he's talking about Sunday and today. I'm not sure. Good morning, John. Yeah, and again, like I said, there's a couple outcomes you could have from this. There's a couple outcomes you could have. One of them is things start settling down. Everybody celebrates. You know, that's great. That's great if it happens. Another, and look at my Apple shares. Apple up to 250. Amazon up to 210s. One of the things that could happen is obviously a retreat back to previous tensions. That's very possible to happen here. If both sides back out. So, but I'm getting again multiple reports that from Iranian media is who they're saying it came from, that there was no direct or indirect contact with Trump, and claims he withdrew after threatening to attack West Asia energy facilities, according to sources. So, interesting market here, guys. Interesting market. Let's see what we get. Y'all be careful. Looking at our poll, I asked people, does Brent crude close under $100 a barrel this month? 52% say no, 48% say yes. Just to look at Brent. Again, Brent has been highly elevated here, guys. So, but I'm showing it's now under 100 right now. It's at 99.5s. So, yeah, I'm showing it's under 99.5s. But it depends on which one we're looking at. I'm showing one that's basically at 103.70. So, look, this one's showing us at 103.50s, 103.70s. Stocks have rebounded here. I just want to see if this is going to continue. But yeah, back and forth this morning in terms of tensions. A reversal of tensions from this tweet, and a potential gap fill back down. This tweet right here is the one markets are celebrating, though. Yeah, energy's going to drop on this cute bald man. Why? Because markets are pricing in less tensions. Oil, for everybody that might not understand it, I think if you've been paying attention, you probably understand this correlation and dynamic with oil and Middle East tensions. But 20% of oil runs through the Strait of Hormuz. All right, and so when things are shut down there, we lose 20%, which is a very large percentage. Another thing is that tensions generally in the Middle East cause scarcity worries regarding oil for the same reason. So if we have more tensions in the Middle East, more tensions with Iran, oil goes up, obviously. That's what we've seen in oil here. You know, so oil, if you look at it over like a 20-day period since this conflict started, you can see how much oil has risen from these, from this conflict in the Middle East, from scarcity concerns and more. Did he really, Rob, or you just say this? Thank you for being live for all of us, John. I was down 6,000. That news saved me. Hey, luck is better than skill, sir. Luck is better than skill. Did he just tweet again that we're out of a recession, or are you just joking? Let me see. I think you might just be trolling a little bit. Yeah, 14 minutes ago, Trump tweeted, nothing about the recession. Again, he tweeted, I am pleased to report that the U.S. and country of Iran have had over the last few days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East based on tenure and tone of in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week. I've instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period subject to the success of the meetings. Sorry, John, that was sarcasm. I figured it was. But hey, I wanted to check just in case. It was a plausible tweet. A plausible tweet. Yeah, so again, I'm also seeing breaking news that Iranian officials haven't yet commented on Trump's statement, but this is the headline banner on state TV. The headline banner on state TV over there is now, quote, U.S. President retreats after Iran's decisive threats. Yeah, so Iran's MP says battle continues, claims another defeat for the U.S. and Trump. Oil's starting to fill the gap, though. Gold, again, just to put this into perspective, guys, gold has popped up a little bit on this. And this is really the first thing that I looked at when I saw this going on. Gold has had a really tough time, especially Friday. Friday, we got deeply raised rate cut or rate hike odds on Friday. So rate cut odds, there's only 52% chance, or there's less than a 50% chance we get any rate cuts this year. There's a 52% chance we get 0 rate cuts this year in 2026. Yields have been rising up because of the conflict. I'm sure yields, actually, let's take a look at yields. And I'll talk about the correlation with gold in a second, but yields are up a lot. But on this news, which made, you know, just to give you guys the logic here, here's the 10-year Treasury yield. Sorry, I'm catching up in the chat. Here's yields. Yields are down substantially on this. Why are yields down? Well, because we have less potential inflation if oil settles. If the conflict eases and de-escalates and we get some type of deal done and the Strait of Hormuz gets opened back up, obviously restoring the flow of oil, that means we might get less inflation. And in that turn, markets are pricing in more rate cuts this year. If we get that higher odds of rate cuts, I'll say, I'm not going to say more, but higher odds of rate cuts this year. Yields and interest rates follow each other. So if interest rates might be lower, yields drop. If interest rates might be higher, yields go up. And, but regardless of this drop, we still have pretty high yields over the last month since this conflict started. Here's the month of March. Higher oil means more inflation, means less green light to cut interest rates, more justification in keeping rates higher for longer. And so you see yields higher here, and this is negatively impacting gold. With yields higher, that means people are getting paid more for holding bonds, right? If people are getting paid higher yields for holding bonds, they have less reason to buy gold, right? Because they're getting paid higher yields with bonds, right? It's risk off mode, essentially, with yields. Gold pays no yield, so when bonds pay more, money flows out of gold and into treasuries a lot of the time. The dollar over 100, you know, the dollar index, I'm sure, might be dropping a little bit on this news. Let me see. Yeah, so the dollar index has tumbled down on this. And remember, gold is priced in dollars, so a stronger dollar makes it more expensive globally and reduces demand for gold. But there's also other reasons, like when everything's selling off, traders and funds need cash to cover margin calls and redemption. Gold is liquid, so they'll sell that as well. All of that dynamic here has caused gold to fall down a lot. Let me check the other breaking news here, make sure nothing else is going on. Hold on. All right, so Iran foreign minister says no talks with Washington, accuses the president of buying time as regional de-escalation efforts continue. And so Iran's foreign ministry says no talks with Washington, accuses the president of buying time as regional de-escalation efforts continue. Iranian embassy in Kabul reported that Donald Trump withdrew from planning to target energy infrastructure after Iran gave a stronger warning. So basically they're saying that Iran threatened, you know, them and because of that, you know, the U.S. was like, oh, nah, we're not going to strike them. It was too big of a threat. I think that's lower odds, guys. I really do. I think that's lower odds. The mine comments maybe could have swung this a little bit, so that might be partially true. But this news just dropped right here. And look at gold still up there. Oil popping back up. Brent crude up to $91 a barrel right now. 91. Crazy swings in markets today, guys. Crazy swings. Yeah, it was weird. I was looking at markets, and you know, every day before I stream, I'm trying to catch up on anything I need to know for this stream. And so I thought the big story was going to be the deadline. The 48-hour deadline was going to end tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And so I thought that was going to be the big story. And then I just saw gold rip. I saw S&P rip. I saw Dow, NASDAQ push high. Really high, really quickly. And so I immediately knew anytime you get a big swing like this, like here's the Dow. Anytime you get a move like this happen, you know it's catalyst driven. Like technical traders might try to act like these moves happen technically. This is a catalyst driven move without question. As soon as I see it, I'm like, something's going on. You got to check the news. And so big swings here, guys. Big swings. Are you bullish or bearish today? Let me know in chat right now. Bull or bear? Let me know. I'm curious to see if people are bullish still. We're starting to come back down a little bit, though. It is probably on these tweets regarding the Iranian officials essentially saying that talks haven't really been going on and that the president just got scared, is essentially what they're saying. Again, the Iranian embassy in Kabul reported that Donald Trump withdrew from planning to target infrastructure after Iran's strong warning. Again, Iran's foreign minister said no talks with Washington, accuses U.S. president of buying time as regional de-escalation efforts continue. All right, so I asked, are you guys bullish or bearish here? I see bears. I see bulls. Bulls on oil. Well, bulls on oil. Bullish means bearish on oil and vice versa, really, right now. In this market. Bull trap. Bull. Bear. Bear. Bull. Yeah, let's see if we hold here, though, now, guys. So we've had these big moves this morning. Here's the S&P. S&P is at 66.68 right now. I think 66.5 is a pretty big level in the S&P, just previous support level from the other move. 6,500 is kind of a psychological level in the S&P as well. And yeah, let's see what happens here. But Iranian embassy in Kabul did say U.S. president backs down from attacking after their warnings. The Blair. I would like the Bear Witch. I think the Bear Witch would be a good pun to have on this. Some of you guys might not remember the Blair Witch Project, you know. That movie came out right in the peak of my childhood. I didn't get to go see it. My whole family got to go see it. You know, I remember all of my family went to go see the Blair Witch Project. And they were like, John, you got to stay at home, dude. You can't come see this. And I was like kicking rocks at home. I was upset. Anyways, NASDAQ, S&P coming down. Yeah. I'm usually a bull, but I'm worried Trump was trying to scare them into opening the strait, but it didn't work. Shakiest movie of all time. Yeah. We did a poll this morning. Honestly, we're pretty 50-50 split. I said, does Brent close the month of March under $100 a barrel? 51% say yes. That would basically mean we would need to get deep de-escalation. So look at the S&P 500, guys. It bounced right at the 6640, 6650 level. Let's see if we start to rebound or it continues here, but I'm still checking for the breaking news this morning. See what happens. But yeah, we recently did get Iran's Fars news agency citing sources that there are no direct communications with the U.S. nor through intermediaries as well. Yeah, we'll see what happens here, guys, but Markets are starting to fall back down after multiple sources in Iran have claimed that what the president said was not true. And again, I'm not agreeing with this. I'm not disagreeing with it. This is just what's going on right now in finance here. Yields have fallen all the way down to 4.36%. And remember, guys, this is a conflict, obviously a physical conflict with the Middle East and Iran, but it's also an information one. So it's also a public perception one, is the way to understand it. And so I asked people, who do you guys think is telling the truth? I think Blaze said neither of them, and I think that's probably true. I think both sides are embellishing things, is the easiest way to put it. I think both sides are exaggerating or embellishing things. And I think that's the most likely outcome here. Or that's the most likely reality here, I think. Yeah. Oof. I knew this exact situation would happen soon. Let me know, will the Strait of Hormuz be back open by July? What do you guys think? So yeah, oil fall. WTI crude fell to $84 a barrel after the president's tweet here. Who knew we'd have this tweet? Look at oil. But oil's kind of filled half of the gap. So oil dropped substantially initially here. Look at oil. It came all the way down to 84.30s. It's back up about 50%. Not quite 50% of this dip, but it's filled about half of the gap, really. Almost half. And so it's now at almost $92 a barrel for WTI crude. So the price of oil, let's see if it stays low. But as of now, yeah, he's not speaking right now. Yeah, he's not speaking right now. Not anywhere that I see. All right, guys. Bitcoin hit 71,000 though. Look at Bitcoin. The Bitcoin tapped 71,000. It didn't actually hold, but it's over 70, which I think is a good sign for Bitcoin. July, nah, why so far? It'll be open by April. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what some of these bigger news sources do here, guys, is like they're trying to hold the click-through rate. So what they do is they recycle old speeches. They do this with Jerome Powell. They do this with Trump, right? Because they don't want people to click on it and leave and be like, oh, this is old. And so they kind of make it seem like it's going on right now, but it's just old usually. What I'm showing right now is that they're recycling. Some of the big news stories are recycling the Saturday speech where he gave his 24-hour deadline, right? So a lot of these news sources are recycling that speech. Oil coming back higher here. It's at $92 a barrel, but he's not speaking live right now that I can see anywhere. Scary times here, guys. Scary times. But honestly, I hope the conflict ends. I don't want to see this conflict. I fear inflation. You know, if you want rate cuts, you want this conflict to end. And we're not getting rate cuts while this conflict's going on. That's just not going to happen. The only way we get rate cuts this year is if this conflict ends and we start heading more towards, you know, if we start focusing more on the weakness in the labor market. Because when this conflict is going on and the price of oil has spiked so much, focus pivot from the labor market, which I think has showed justifiable weakness. The last labor report was 92,000 negative 92,000 jobs. And so I think we should look at that and make sure we're not heading towards a recession. And I think the longer this conflict drags on, the higher likelihood that we are heading towards a recession goes, just because we can't focus on jobs, we have to focus on inflation because of the price of oil and the conflict going on. And so that's where we are now in terms of interest rates. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I might trade some of this here, though. So I might trade some of this. We'll see. Bro, it's not going to end just because the president wants to. It's just facts. Yeah, I'm not against that outlook. He definitely wants it to end, but, and I think again, we did get reports that Iran's foreign ministry is denying the president's statement on peace talks that Iran has had no direct or indirect contact with the United States. So that is the big breaking news here, really. But, yeah, and Iran's Fars says Trump retreated due to Iranian threats. So I think people are more optimistic than they were 2 hours ago here. But oil's not quite buying the full peace story. You know, that, oh, we're going to get peace in the Middle East. Oil's not really following it. It did originally. And then once we got those stories about Iran basically not confirming the peace talks and then saying that the president's just nervous, oil's back a little bit. Not where it was prior, but still over 91s a barrel for WTI crude. President tweeted that so oil would drop. Yeah, I mean, I think what happened here is that he made the 48-hour deadline. Right, so he made the 48-hour deadline. This was on Saturday. And then that deadline would have expired tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And so I think what most likely happened, I think maybe he's been talking with somebody. We'll see if that's true. I don't really know here. Again, it's kind of a perception war on both sides, and neither side's necessarily going to be honest about it, to be honest. So, but I think he also understood the implications of if we hit 8 o'clock tonight and there's no de-escalation, then oil's going to go higher. Oil's going to continue to push. Markets are going to continue to get nervous, and, you know, escalation continues. And so he's trying to ease some of that in regards to the price of oil, in regards to fears. And so I don't know if he was talking to people or not. I really don't know. I would assume he was, but I wouldn't bet anything on it, really. At least I hope he was. Maybe it's just confirmation bias. I hope he's telling the truth. Yeah, so Iran's Tasnim News says Trump's comment is, quote, psychological warfare, end quote, according to a senior security official. They said there have been no talks. There are no talks. Another bull trap. Hey, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button on the stream. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. And let's see what we get today. But so rug pull is coming. I don't know. I don't know here, guys. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what's going on. Let's try to trade a little bit, though. We will try to trade some here. But yeah, I see some people saying Trump is speaking. He is not. Looking at other breaking news, though. But basically, all the stories we're getting, oil is completely retraced at least half of this move now. The oil back up to $93 a barrel for WTI crude. It's not really buying this, I think. Is this Bloomberg Terminal? Oh, it's close enough. This is John Berg over here, you know. All right, let's trade a little bit, but I'll be careful today, man. Yeah, look at some of these candles. I think you got to be careful trading right now. Why is because the reality of it is we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the next story is going to be regarding news. I'm tempted. I mean, it looks like a bull flag. honestly, if you look at it here, this looks like a bull flag. You know, like it looks pretty flaggish here, but I think you got to understand the story of it. Like this looks like a flag, you know, but I think there's obviously risks as well, because the continued stories that we're seeing here, again, is that Iran's Far News, the Tasnim, Iranian media, the Iranian embassy in Kabul, all are saying that the U.S. president has not been in contact with them. Iranian media says there was no direct or indirect contact and claims he withdrew after threatening to attack facilities there. So if that turns out to be more and more true as time goes on, the Nasdaq's going to come right back down. The Dow is as well. Oil is going to continue pushing higher here. And even gold's back down under $4,400 an ounce. This is gold. Here's the Nasdaq. The flag that I just drew is in the Nasdaq here. Just be careful right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. Volatile market. Yeah, it's a little scary. It is a little scary. Trading plan for today. Bullish move it open. Short all the way down. It's possible. And again, looking at yields, you can also see some of this story in terms of what yields are expecting right now. Yeah, Iran's Tasnim says there have been no talks. There are no talks. End quote. Tasnim will continue to respond and defend country. Calls the president's comment psychological warfare. Let's take a look at how markets are responding to this. Apple at 250s, but again, just like everything else, is starting to give back some of these gains. Amazon back down to under 208s, but still green on the day. Meta sitting at $600 even here. I think that $600 level is interesting. Google right at $300. Microsoft at 384s. Palantir at 150s. Nvidia still sitting at 175. The Dow, again, if we look at the Dow here, Dow at 46,450s. Yeah, we'll see if this holds here, though, guys. It's interesting. Yeah, Bitcoin still at 70,000. Bitcoin's right at 70K, though. Look at Bitcoin at 70,000. So Bitcoin is right here. The VIX is down. Yeah, the VIX is going to be down because market is up. Right, so the market is up. The VIX is going to be down, although I think the VIX is probably going to be rebounding over the last... Yeah, so the VIX is going to drop on this because the VIX goes up as markets go down and vice versa generally. VIX is back up to 28, though. So the VIX has basically filled the whole gap back up. So the VIX originally dropped all the way down to 20 on this news, potentially of de-escalation. And again, just to give you an update, the earlier president-induced price action unwinds as the Iranian media reports no direct talks between the U.S. Brent is reapproaching 106 BBL. We can look at yields. What do I do with yields? Is the bull flag invalid? I think it looks like a bull flag. It does. But I think right now, you know, it's not as easy to do, right? It's not as easy to do. So yeah, here's BZ Brent crude on Yahoo Finance. But I think the bull flag is a little bit less valid right now just because you got to understand the story of this move. You know, here's the Nasdaq, right? You got to understand the story of this move. And the story of this move is we went up on Trump's tweet regarding peace talks between the U.S. and Iran and a 5-day pause to strikes. Markets celebrated, everybody got excited, gold went up, oil went down dramatically. And then the Iranian news started coming out that they're basically disputing what the president said in his tweet, right? So they basically disputed what the president said, and now we're kind of filling the gap back down here. So now we're starting to dip back down. You know, you can see really it's the most reflected, I think, in the price of oil, because oil is going to move up when tensions are high and down when tensions are low. And so oil on that news that there's a 5-day pause in strikes and there were U.S.-Iran talks, oil cratered all the way down to 84s. But then the Iranian news media started coming out saying that there were no talks happening really, and that this is just a power play by the president. And then oil came right back. It's filled over 50% of the gap down back up here. It's now at $93 a barrel for Brent crude, or for WTI crude. And so, yep, that's the story today. Also, I got breaking news that OpenAI has hired Dave Dugan, a former top advertising exec for Meta, to lead ad sales and AI startup works to strengthen its ties with advertisers. We also had to use United Airlines is going to cut 3% of their capacity, according to CNBC. I remember Venezuela saying the same thing. Is Bitcoin? Yeah, Bitcoin just fell below 70,000 here. So Bitcoin did fall. Kind of the same tune here, but on the opposite with oil, where it ripped up on the peace talk news and then it fell back down after Iran disputed it, basically. It's now right under 70K. The NASDAQ is down to 24.4s. The Dow has basically fallen back down, filled about half the gap. Although this, we're still green in most of these. We opened up red, and Friday was very red. Friday was very red. In fact, some people made fun of me for saying, hey, well, the market, dumped today on Friday. They said I was being too sensationalist. And then the market did dump on Friday. Friday's close was scary. Increased odds of rate hikes for 2026 scared markets on Friday. Gold has been crashing down. And again, gold is down and yields have been high on higher interest rate sentiment, negatively affecting everything. Like when bonds are paying out more because we have higher interest rates, right? Less people are interested in buying gold because they're getting such good returns on their bonds, right? If bonds are paying out almost 5%, a lot of people are going to say, hey, I don't need to buy gold. Gold sells off. Here's gold right here. If the dollar index is spiking, gold's priced in dollars. So a stronger dollar makes it more expensive globally and reduces demand for gold. As well as when everything's selling off, people get liquidated. They have to sell their liquid assets like gold to cover, margin calls and all this other stuff. So gold has been getting hit. And it's honestly, gold is one of the things that has retraced the majority of this move already. Look at gold. Gold's down to 43,400s. Here's a 10-day chart in gold on all the stuff going on. So gold is looking rough right now. Still rough. It rebounded a little bit, but it didn't hold now. It's starting to fall back down for gold. Okay, so the mayor, not the MA, not the actual mayor, but MEHR, citing foreign ministry, says Trump's remarks are meant to decrease energy prices and gain time for his military plans, according to him. Again, he said Trump's remarks are meant to decrease energy prices and gain time for his military plans, according to mayor citing foreign ministry. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, let me know. I see somebody else say a signal is better than noise. Have there been talks? Doesn't matter. One of the things that this does show is that the president is being potentially more de-escalation pushing here with the conflict. And regardless of whether he's telling the truth or not, and regardless of what his reasons are for it, markets might like it, Michael Saylor also bought $76.6 million of Bitcoin at 74,000 over the past week, according to a filing. So he bought over 1,000 Bitcoin worth 77 million, roughly. Yeah, so I see some people asking, what does taco mean? Taco means Trump always chickens out. So basically, you take the opposing trade. I'm not saying I agree with this, guys. I'm not an investment professional. In fact, if anything, understand all this stuff on screen. Nothing here is financial advice. Remember, I have no idea what I'm talking about half the time, and I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Don't copy me. Understand all this stuff on screen. Don't do it. I have no idea what I'm talking about 30% of the time. I'm wrong every time. All right. With that said, the taco trade basically says, take the opposite thing of whatever Trump says. So again, it stands for Trump always chickens out, is what the abbreviation stands for. It's basically like a counter Trump trading mindset. Like, if Trump says we're going up, we might be going down. And if Trump says oil's going down, you might buy it. Like again, that is what it stands for. Again, I'm not saying I agree with it, you know. This dude changes his position on Iran 3 times a day now. Active trader. Yeah, I mean, look, that's where the taco thing comes into it. So the MEHR, citing foreign ministry, says, quote, "There are initiatives to decrease tensions, but our response is that the U.S. should be the I don't even know this word. The interlocutor, as we did not initiate this conflict." Again, he said there are initiatives to decrease tensions, but our response is that the U.S. should be the... All right, I'm Googling this word right now. You guys know this word. Let me know what it means, guys. I don't even need Google with you guys here. Look, here's the word right here. I'm just going to be honest. I would love to pretend and like AI this word real quick and act like I know what it means. It means a person who takes part in a dialogue or conversation, often acting as a representative, negotiator, or go-between. So it's an intermediary, is what this is. Yeah, I didn't even know that word. Honesty, guys. I'm just being honest. Of course I know it. Rapidly asked ChatGPT. It's like Kevin Spacey in the movie. Which movie? You know what movie I watched with Kevin Spacey recently? APEX. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in the ending here. I'm not happy with that ending at all. It's one of those movies you watch and you just don't feel good after it. You're just kind of like, what happened? Don't do it, John. What are you trading? I'll copy you. Yeah, PB, I'm not sure what you're saying. There's no way I'm going to try to say that word. U.S. fund Apollo aims to acquire Japan glassmaker to save it from old and M&A loans. Yeah, I'm a sucker for a sci-fi movie too. The problem is it never says whether he was a freaking alien or not, and I'm disappointed in that. I believe he was an alien, but, you know, the movie never tells you, and it ends on a really, you know, unappealing note, I think. Top 3 most honest online traders. We try over here. We try. What is this market right now? Over the Trump tweet. Yeah, look, that's what's going on. Again, the MEHR, citing foreign minister, says there are initiatives to decrease tensions, but our response is that the U.S. should be the interlocutor, new word, as we did not initiate this conflict. All right, I'm going to trade some here, guys. I feel like there was a slight tone there. Of bullishness. I'm going to buy this, but it's a risky buy, and I'm going to start with just one contract here. Don't copy me. Not an investment professional here, guys. We're going to start with just one. Okay, we're up some. I believe we can rebound here. Just hopefully nobody tweets while I'm in this trade. Look, one micro contract is running like a lot here. Should I wimpily get out of this or should I hold this? What do you guys think? Get out or hold? Again, you can use coupon code BT on Lucid. Great way to help support the channel. No PDT in futures. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow. Most day traders lose. I try to be honest with you guys. Obviously, I get paid by them if you sign up. But it's genuinely useful. Most day traders are going to lose their first couple accounts. So if you try to day trade your own account, you're probably going to lose it. And it kind of is like a middle ground between a paper trade and, you know, real money trading. And so it's a great way to learn when most day traders lose. You can go direct to funded on Lucid as well. Oh no, guys, it might, let's see. It's going to go in my favor. Yeah, you can go to direct to funded. They pay out They paid over 60 million in traders, over 50,000 traders there. Average payout time is 15 minutes. You can withdraw funds daily once you're funded. You can use my coupon code BT and get it for cheap. They also have the direct to fund and get it for $238 for the base one. It just makes sense. It makes sense. Use coupon code BT. You want to help support the channel. I'll put this up in chat right now. Shameless plug here, guys. Shameless plug. There's the link right there. Check it out. I'll pin it to the top of the chat. Yeah, I'm still looking at tweets here. Iran's foreign ministry says there have been no direct talks with Tehran and Washington. The U.S. president's statements are part of an effort to reduce energy prices, and there are initiatives from regional countries to reduce tensions, and our response to all of them is clear. We are not the party that started this, and such requests should be directed at Washington. And Iran's Mizan says requests to reduce tension should be put to the United States. Here's the question. Is Trump telling the truth? Put yes or no in chat right now. Yes or no. I'm probably going to have to cut this because I don't want to get... It's a risky time to trade. One micro is moving right now. So we'll give it one more second and then we're going to unload here. It's a risky thing for me to go long right here. So, overwhelmingly no in the chat. People basically say they do not believe with them. With that said, I'm cutting this trade and I'm getting out. And I'll wait now. Here's the NASDAQ at 24.4s. And again, the NASDAQ still looks kind of bull flaggish. But the problem is that you got to understand why this is all happening. So, like, if it was pure technicals, maybe I'd take a longer term trade here. But with everything going on, I think it's risky. Yeah, and again, we can look at volume profile to get some levels here on the chart. I'll also, like, hand draw some levels. But we can look at volume profile here and get some levels on the chart. Obviously, I think one of the big levels here, like we can look at the volume profile to see this. But I think one of the big levels on the NASDAQ is 24,000. You can see the POC right here from this current session. It's at like 24. It's close enough to 24 where I'm just going to label this 24. You know, I think we could get chop. But be careful here, guys. See if the market holds. Tweet deleted. No, it's a ground invasion at any moment. The tweet wasn't actually deleted, was it? Let me see. Yeah, and remember, the president tweeted, when was this? March 20th, so 3 days ago. He said, we're very close to hitting our objectives in the Middle East. And then he gave on Saturday, he gave the 48-hour deadline. No, the tweet's still here. Yeah, look, here's the tweet. It's still there. Everybody basically saying no. Easily among... Hey, what's up, Tanvir? Easily among the biggest lying people in the world. Okay, this is what he did. He fixed the please, because originally it said please. He fixed this. So, he just edited it, is what he did. Going back to bed, I'm staying red. Alright, so I did this poll earlier regarding Brent crude here. So I did do this poll regarding Brent crude earlier. 791 votes. 51% says Brent closes under $100 a barrel, which is kind of shocking here. We're going to do another poll with all the back and forth regarding this conflict this morning. Are you bullish or bearish today? Let's do a poll. Bull, bear. I'm going to make, in the poll, I'm going to give a neutral option here. The bull, bear, neutral here. So, the poll is now live. With all this back... See, I kind of labeled the poll wrong. I said with all these back and forth. I meant to say with all this back and forth regarding the conflict this morning. Are you bullish or bearish today? So just know I did have a little spelling error. I'm not going to end the poll for it, but I should have held that long here too. Close enough. Friday is dump day. The previous Friday was dump day. No clue? I can respect the answer. In a market where everybody likes to be absolute, like, hey, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Nobody freaking knows if it's actually going to happen or not. Everybody likes to give out 100% certainty predictions. I can respect that I have no idea, you know. So I'm seeing a lot of bears in chat as well. The bears are actually showing up in the chat as well. So 47% are bearish today. 32% are bullish. 22% are neutral. You can vote on the poll right now. Yeah, looking at yields here as well, guys. I think we have to look at yields right now. And remember, yields and interest rates follow each other. Yields are almost to 4.4%, although they have retreated some back down to under 4.4% right now for yields. So they have retreated some here, but we came right back higher. So we filled some of this gap. I would say about 50 to 60% of the gap has been filled back on the upside. When this tweet originally came out and it meant we might have more stabilization in the price of oil. Oil dumped for, you know, a quick second, and yields followed it down because lower oil means more green light to cut interest rates because the inflation worries of rising oil prices aren't there. But it did not hold. So yields ended up rebounding back up. We're at 4.38%, 4.38%. Jocko. Fun fact, Jocko was actually my dad's nickname for me as a kid. So, cheers to my dad. I don't think so. I see J. Cole says, John, does Lucid or Apex have minimum trade? I don't think so. You'd have to check with them, though. But I don't think so. All right, guys. Let's see if we actually hold up here. Still looking at news. So Iran's mirror citing the foreign ministry suggests that there are initiatives to decrease tensions. But Iran's response is that the U.S. should be the interlocutor, as Iran did not initiate the war, says Trump's remarks are to lower energy prices and buy time. Market already rallied 600 points, probably sell off. Well, it's already filled that gap, though, is what happened. So we kind of filled the gap already back down. At least, I would say in a lot of markets. Oil is where we can look at probably the most accurate look at everything. Oil is where you can see a lot of this. Oil's still sitting at $92 a barrel, although it dropped all the way down to 84s, and it was prior to this 5-day pause and strikes news. It was over $98 a barrel. So we're kind of somewhere in the middle right now. You know, is what this is. We're kind of somewhere in the middle. Bulls have to soak up the sell-off. This will take a few months. Yeah, I mean, it's possible for sure. Today's the 23rd. Yeah, okay. America is de-escalating what? What's Iran talking about? Yeah, I mean, again, the biggest thing to understand about this is that it's a perception conflict as well as a physical one. So again, at 7:04 Eastern Standard Time, the Trump president said the U.S. and Iran have had a productive discussions to end the war in Iran. By 7:10, the S&P surged 240 points, adding $2 trillion to market cap. Less than 30 minutes later, Iran completely denied all of the president's claims and said there's been no contact with the U.S. By 8 a.m., the S&P fell back down 120 points. $3 trillion in market cap swings in 56 minutes just in the S&P 500. So, kind of a wild morning here. I didn't wake up today expecting this wild of a morning either. So, yeah, oil's starting to come back down. It's still net down for sure on the morning from the potential peace talks. Because you guys have to understand, as much as you guys you know, like there's a chance that they have been having discussions and that, you know, both of them kind of have a poker face, if that makes sense, right? Because one of the things that's going to put more pressure on the president is if it seems like the conflict escalations are going to continue. That's going to put more public pressure on the president. And so in that regard, Iran might be also using this as a bargaining chip for more bending, if that makes sense, right? At least that's what I think. It's also possible that they're somewhat telling the truth in that they haven't been any talks going on, and the president's just directly saying this to reduce the tensions and reduce the price of oil because he gave a 48-hour deadline, and then that 48-hour deadline would have hit tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And he understood that if nothing happened by that 8 o'clock deadline, then oil was probably going to spike higher, and tensions and fears and markets would react negatively. And so because of that, you know, he's trying to reduce the tensions. Both of those things are very possible here. Of course, everybody here is going to act like they know it's definitely one way or it's definitely the other. And again, you guys got to understand, none of us freaking know. We have to just report on what happens. You can make predictions, that's fine. But either way, it's kind of up in the air, I think. All right, guys. Oil, 91.5s for Brent. Yields are down to 4.38%. $50-50, yeah, for sure. There's no more price discovery anymore. It's tweet discovery. The 48 hours still on. No, so Demetrius, if you're just now joining us here, there's been a lot of stuff that happened over the last hour and a half. The president tweeted this. Markets flew, basically saying the U.S. and Iran have had over the last few days very good and productive conversations to end the conflict. There's a 5-day pause to strikes, all this other stuff. And Iran immediately disputed that, saying there's been no talks. The president's just trying to lower the price of oil, which it has. Oil is down. It was at 98s for WTI crude. It's now at 91s, went as low as 84s from this. So that is the story right now. We also had news that, man, I don't know how to pronounce some of this. Asalon and NVIDIA collaborate to advance physical AI and robotic security with the introduction of Drone IQ Overwatch. So NVIDIA got a deal done with Asalon. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that correctly. NVIDIA up to 176.50s right now, 176.50. So NVIDIA is up a lot on this report. You need a co-host? Let me know when you start looking. I don't know if I need a co-host. I'm getting some guests coming on the stream pretty soon. But I think people also watch me for like breaking news and stuff. And so we got a couple things we're working on in the background. But yeah, if you're interested, message me. I'll talk to you about it. beginnertrading@gmail.com. You can also just join our Discord. Remember, guys, our Discord is completely free. Doesn't cost a penny. We drop a lot of the stuff live. You know, kind of craziness going on. But yeah, if you want to join our Discord here, guys, check it out. Here's our Discord link. I appreciate the love. Here it is right here. Check it out. Join our Discord. This is the link right there in chat. Your name is John as well. That's a great name. That's a great name. Is NVIDIA buy right now? I remember when you first started your channel. I'm happy your channel was growing. Dude, when I first started this channel, I would get so excited if I got like 50 views on a video. You know, I'd get 50 views on a video. I'd be like, it's happening. It's happening. You know, the morning stream has steadily grown a lot. You know, we used to get like a year ago, we get like 400 or 500 here. You know, now we got what? We got 1,400 watching right now. So yeah, the morning stream has grown a lot. Which, again, it kind of goes to show you can tell people you have no idea what you're talking about and still grow on YouTube. So, cheers to everybody that's watching the stream. Where are you guys watching from? Let's see where everybody's from today. I am in Houston, Texas. I'm a Louisianian at heart. Go Tigers. But I'm in Houston, Texas. Where are you guys from? It's because you're chill. I would say I'm the chillest. Australia, Dallas, Poland, DC, Cali, Canada, Ukraine, Bulgaria, France, Croatia, Dubai, Houston, Massachusetts, Salem, Massachusetts. Yeah. Fun fact here, I am a direct descendant of Giles Corey. I don't know if it's Giles or Giles. I probably should research this, but I'm a direct descendant of him. He was one of the first men executed in the Salem witch trials. So, cheers to Giles, you know. Direct descendant of him. Finland says hello, New Zealand, Australia. And you're still a beginner? It would be Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. Your is possessive, sir. But it's all love. It's all love here. Hong Kong, Florida, Midland, Texas. Nice. Puerto Rico. My guy. Hey, cheers to Miguel over there. Philippines now. Germany, Romania. Ciao from Sicily. Is Super Micro going to bounce today? Super Micro had that really bad news last week that some of their founders were in cahoots to smuggle NVIDIA chips to China. They are down to $20 a share. They opened up at 18s, probably with all the weakness going on. Look at this drop from Super Micro. Bad news for them last week. I'm not touching the stock. Look, guys, I'm not one of those guys. You got a lot of people that just kind of piggyback off of momentum. So, like, if everybody's into Super Micro Semiconductors, they're like, hey, Super Micro Semiconductors is obviously a buy. I'm not one of those people. I'm not freaking touching this stock right now. You guys could buy it. I'm not mad. You might make money. It's down a lot. I'm not telling you to buy this thing. I'm definitely not buying it. I haven't been a fan of buying Super Micro Semiconductors. The swings are too big. Like, look at these swings. This thing went from 20 to 122 by 2024, back down to 20s now. So maybe there's value, or maybe the company's overall not doing so hot. You know, I think when you look at the trend, both of those things could be true. And it's all love if you disagree with me here. And if you think Super Micro Semiconductors is a buy, let me know why. And that rhymed. But I'm not buying it personally right now. I'm just not interested in buying it. Too risky. Best piece of advice from a friend a year ago is follow this guy. You're not going to regret it. Damn, was he right? I'm assuming you're talking about Warren Buffett and not me. Looking at our poll today, guys. 41% bulls, 39% bears. So the bulls have actually gotten control of this a little bit here now. The Chicago Fed National Activity Index did just come out. It showed up at negative 0.1 versus previous of positive 0.18. So you look like Theon Greyjoy. I appreciate the $2 donation, my friend. Theon. I can look like Theon as long as I don't act like Theon. I think it's fine. You know. Let's see oil. Oil's starting to stabilize a little bit, but it's still really early. All right, so UK's Prime Minister spokesperson says the UK has a range of defenses in place and plans more spending. Hey, what's up, Phoebe? I emailed you. Hey. Yeah, Rod basically said there's no talks. I know you're talking about me, Wowo. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm just messing with you a little bit. Another question for the chat today. Do we enter a recession this year in 2026? Good morning, John. Are you in your Discord? I'm thinking about joining. I was wondering, are you really in the Discord? I'm going to post right now. I am in the Discord. We got a hater in the Discord, man. How could you hate my channel, dude? That hurts personally. You know, I'm offended by this. I haven't got a hater in a long time, and so I don't know what that means, but putting ice at the airport, probably a recession. So I'm seeing a lot of people, hey, what's up, Kevin from the United Kingdom? You don't look like Theon. I don't really think I look like Theon. I've heard a lot of different things about who I look like. You know, I was watching, people say I look like Paul Felder. And I think it's because my beard is red sometimes and my hair is brown. And I was watching the UFC this weekend and I was looking at Paul Felder and I was kind of like, dang it, they're right, dude. I do look like freaking Paul Felder, man. I wish I could fight like Paul Felder, which I would get beat up, you know, but still. This is a temporary bump. Recession is still underway. Yeah, I mean, look, if what Trump is saying this morning is true, it's less likely we enter a recession. I don't know if GDP is necessarily going to be good, but if what Trump is saying is true, it's less likely we enter a recession, because if what he's saying is true, we should continue to see the price of oil decrease, curbing some of the inflation fears and ultimately opening the door to potentially lower interest rate sentiment this year. Because if oil's not elevated, inflation's not as big of a concern, and thus the Federal Reserve can lower interest rates. If the conflict lasts longer than expected and what he said this morning is not true, you know, obviously we can expect higher prices of oil this year. And I think they're going to be higher than normal, obviously, regardless of whether he's saying regardless of whether what he said this morning is true or not. Because even if the conflict ends tomorrow, there's still going to be some elevated oil prices just from the disruption overall. It's not going to get back underway. Oil's not going to start flowing like normal immediately. This is obviously going to impact inflation short term, and how long this conflict lasts is going to dictate how long everything goes with oil and everything going on right now. So you look big? Y'all are just randomly saying stuff now. I mean, I'm the biggest ever, but, you know. Rate hike percentage. Yeah, if we look at the rate cut odds, first of all, you can watch yields to see where things are going here. If we look at 2-year Treasury yields, which are like the interest rate ones that you probably want to watch, are 2-year yields, you can see the swings in yields today. Why can't I go? There we go. Yeah, so again, 2-year Treasury yields ended up dumping down on this. They filled some of the gas on the gap on the upside, but we're kind of in the middle now. We're kind of somewhere in the middle where markets don't know what to do. Hey, dude. I love you, bud. Have a good day, dude. Love you, bud. Have a good day, dude. Yeah, GDP is scary right now. Last time it showed up at 0.7% for Q4. We haven't gotten Q1 GDP yet, but last time it showed up at 0.7%. They expected 1.4%. So it literally showed up 100% weaker than expected for GDP for Q4 GDP. And again, that's for Q4. That's the end of last year's GDP. We'll see what happens with the final revision. We should get one more Q4 GDP. And so if it turns up negative, here's the thing. If Q4, last time it showed up 100% less than expected at 0.7% versus 1.4% expected. So it's trending lower for Q4. If the final revision data shows a negative GDP, that's a situation where we could be starting to potentially enter a recession here. And look at yields from this whole move. They filled some of the gap, but oil's still falling down here. Goolsby is speaking right now. He said inflation now seems like the great risk. He said that the economy is near full employment. Goolsby states that the economy is nearer to full employment than to reaching the inflation goal. We're closer to full employment than the inflation target. He says that the unemployment rate has not risen significantly and that job creation may not be the best way to measure economic slowdown. The unemployment rate has not gone up much. Job creation might not be a good measure of slack. He currently sees that inflation is seen as the most significant risk to the economy. Inflation now seems like the greater risk, he says. Again, Fed member Goolsby. Goolsby says it is an intense moment with a lot in the balance, according to CNBC. At best, inflation stalled. Fed is waiting for that to go away. Now there is a new shock. Remains optimistic by the end of this year. Rates could go down, but needs proof on inflation aspects. He said new shock definitely throws a wrench into the Fed's plan. And this is kind of something I've been saying for the last few months, really, here. Or this is something I've been saying for the last few weeks. I mean, prior to the Iran conflict, I might argue a rate cut. After the Iran conflict, with oil spiking up, inflation concerns are now here because of the prices of oil, because of the Middle East conflict. Now, I don't think it's easy to cut rates. I actually think it'd be a little irresponsible to cut rates right now. I think we should probably just keep rates steady and see what happens moving forward with everything going on in the Middle East, with the price of oil, with inflation, with the labor market. You know, I don't think it's an easy decision. I do think if we get incredibly weak jobs numbers continuously over the next few months, then we should start looking at potentially cutting rates, because I think the labor, but we need to see, just like Goolsby is saying, we need to see spikes to unemployment if we're going to start cutting interest rates. Unemployment basically been the same. And yeah, we need to see spikes to unemployment. And so we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm okay with pausing rates. And I think when we looked at Jerome Powell's speech the last few days, a few days ago, he was pretty cautious, data dependent, you know, refused to kind of commit to interest rates. I love you.
Love you.
Have a good day. $60 oil is gone forever, you say? What will oil close the year here, guys? What will oil close the year? Let me know. See what oil closes the year. These baby boomers. I'm not a boomer, I'm a millennial. I mean, I think that's obvious. If you think I'm a baby boomer, that really hurts. All right, so I asked people, where will oil close the year? We got a couple different answers. I'm showing $60 oil gone forever, $76 a barrel, no raise, no cut this year. I'm assuming that's happening too. I like that sentiment. Like, we don't get any cuts, we don't get any raises, but it really depends on what happens in the Middle East. That's going to dictate what happens with interest rates. $80 oil, $90 oil, $51 oil, below 80 for sure. 70 to 80. Not off stream, WTF. What's not off stream? Paul Felder. Yeah, I'm giving my kids a hug goodbye before they go to school. $200 a barrel? I hope not, man. That $200 a barrel oil would increase the odds of a lot of different negative things happening. Again, Goolsby says inflation expectations seem anchored, but once they go wrong, it's hard to fix them. Inflation has to be a little ahead of employment right now. Goolsby says the unemployment rate has not risen significantly. That job creation might not be the best way to measure economic slowdown. The unemployment rate has not gone up much. Job creation may not be a good measure of slack. Is there a new tweet? And again, just to recap the market here this morning, because the markets are kind of flat right now after getting a little scary and a little optimistic earlier. Just to give you guys the rundown here, on Saturday, markets have priced in higher oil intentions prior to like 6 a.m. this morning. Markets have priced in higher oil intentions after the president gave a 48-hour deadline to open up the Strait of Hormuz to Iran. Markets were scared when I first woke up this morning. As I was sitting here looking at all the breaking news, the president tweeted this. He said, quote, "I am pleased to report that the U.S. and the country of Iran have had over the last few days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive convos, which will continue throughout the week. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against the Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings, blah, 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 blah." Right? U.S. President Donald Trump This has dumped the price of oil, and oil continues to fall here, guys. Look at oil. It's down to 89.80s. 89.80s in the price of oil. Here's the Dow. The Dow has spiked up on this. The S&P has spiked up on this. The NASDAQ has spiked up on this. Most Mag 7 stocks have popped up on this. And, yeah. That is where we are now here. The oil is elevated. But it fell down some here. We're looking at Trump says on Fox Business, recent Iran talks happened last night. And so, again, Trump says to Fox Business, recent Iran talks happened last night. So oil's probably dropping from this. A little bit more details regarding the talks. But this is what is pushing markets up and pushing oil down short term, is that the president said the talks happened last night. We're trading off tweets, not facts. It's all rumors. That's why, you ever heard the saying, buy the rumor, sell the news? Because the whole market moves on rumors. It's all about mass psychology versus actual, like, real market health. It's all about opinions. It's subjective, I guess is the point. But again, Trump said to Fox Business, recent Iran talks happened last night. Axios is reporting this. Axios said Turkey and others, specifically Egypt and Pakistan, have been passing messages between the U.S. and Iran over the past few days in an effort to de-escalate, according to Axios. So again, Axios saying indirect conversations taking place between Witkoff and Arachi. Donald Trump says to Fox Business that the deal with Iran could be 5 days or sooner. Senior officials from Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan held separate talks with the White House envoy Steve Witkoff, an Iranian FM, according to Axios. He said the talks were with Witkoff, Kushner, and their counterparties. Yeah, no, and just to clarify that, I see Janine posting, and again, this is absolutely true. What Janine said in chat right now, Iranian foreign minister claims there were no talks. A bunch of people claim that there were no talks after it happened. So a lot of different people came out basically saying that there had been no direct talks. And the key word here that we're recently figuring out the discrepancy between the two parties was direct. So there were talks going on, but they weren't direct. And so we got a lot of comments from Iran saying that there had been no direct talks with the U.S. president and that the president was basically just doing this to lower the price of oil. He called it psychological warfare. Some of their leaders called it psychological warfare. Iran's Tasnim News calls Trump's comment psychological warfare, according to a senior official. Tasnim says, citing Iranian source, that the Strait of Hormuz will not return to pre-war conditions as long as the psychological warfare continues. Iran's foreign minister denied the president's statement on peace and says Iran had no direct or indirect contact with the U.S. And Trump just said, not sure what Iran media is talking about. Recent Iran talks happened last night. And just to go back into this, I'm going to give you guys the most probable truth here. What's most probably true? And what's probably true is that both sides are exaggerating and embellishing their end of it. Right? So it looks like there were some indirect talks. Both sides have like a poker face in that regard, especially Iran right now. Because, again, one of the things that puts pressure on the U.S. is escalation of this conflict. They understand the public perception. They understand that the president has more pressure when things get worse, when oil rises. And so are they going to take their foot off the gas, so to speak, pun intended, in terms of aggression? I don't think so. They're going to act like nothing ever happened. They're going to understand the impact of that of oil. And I also think that the president is probably wrapping this up really nicely to make it sound better than it actually is. And so the reality of it, in my opinion, is that both sides are embellishing and exaggerating their end of it. That's most likely the truth here, right? You could say it's just one side exaggerating and the other side is telling the truth. You got to understand, this is not just a conflict of physicality in Iran. This is a conflict of perception. And that's the easiest way to understand this. Because perception influences the price of oil, you know. Here's another question for the chat. When does the Strait of Hormuz open? Oil coming back down. It's now under $90 a barrel here. The NASDAQ, S&P, or Dow, I'm assuming, are flying back up here. Yeah, so they're popping back higher. NASDAQ at 24,570s. Yeah, so I asked people, when does the Strait of Hormuz open up? I see 2027, late in April, after midterms, next year. It is open, except for the... yeah. I should have held that long earlier, guys. Goolsby said, could see circumstances where we need to raise rates. But again, one of the breaking stories is that Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan have been, quote, passing messages between the U.S. and Iran in efforts to de-escalate. The NASDAQ's getting higher here, though. 2030. Bitcoin's still rising. Yeah, Bitcoin's sitting... Bitcoin is sitting at almost 71,000 here. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is back higher here, over 70K. Strait is already open, but you do not know. Well, the Strait is, yeah, I mean, listen. The Strait is open right now, but it's not open, so to speak. It's open, but not really. Of course, it's technically open, like a very small percentage of ships are getting through, but no US or allied ships are getting through there. And so that's the reality of it. I mean that's kind of obvious here. Tomato, tomato. Yeah, it's open, but not really. Of course. Yeah, Bitcoin up there. NASDAQ getting high. All right, so I see Governor Moran speaking right now. He says the Fed should be not making policy based on short-term headlines. It's premature to judge the current situation. Moran's a dove. So Moran, or Miran, is going to be dovish. You know, he's the last appointee to the Fed by the president. He's going to be dovish. He's going to do what the president wants. Whatever the president wants, he's going to do it. President wants lower interest rates. So Moran's going to come out here pushing low interest rate environment, saying inflation's not that big of a risk. You know, again, as in most things, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Why is Hormuz important? Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's look at the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz, the easiest way to put it here is that the Strait of Hormuz is important because 20% of the world's oil runs through it. And it's a tight little, area. It's not a very large area, and so it's really easy for them to stop the flow of oil going through it, especially with Iran being so close to it. So the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz is right here. Let me show you guys. Hold on. Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz is right here. So just to understand this. This is the Strait of Hormuz. And again, here's the choke point. Not very long. It's only 20 to 30 miles wide. Very easy to stop the flow of oil through. And 20% of the world's oil is very large. That's not a small percentage. And so if US can't get oil through, right now we're eating into reserves. Our tankers not being able to pass through the strait is a big problem. And the longer it goes on, the longer the impact is for oil, you know, because of infrastructure and production and everything gets, affected by it. Tensions in the Middle East essentially cause more scarcity in oil because of all of this, right? So when there's tensions, oil becomes more expensive. Supply and demand, it's harder to get supply. Demand outpaces supply because we can't really get oil through the Strait of Hormuz, and thus oil rises, inflation goes up from it. You know, that's the big fear right now. And the longer it stays closed, the worse it gets, basically. Yeah, Iran's denying negotiations went on. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. All right, we're going to get ready to trade the opening bell here, though, guys. Pay to pass. And the big story regarding the Strait of Hormuz is insurance. Insurance is not going to cover any ships going through the Strait of Hormuz right now. And so that is what's blocking things as well. I'm all in on the VIX. What are your thoughts on that? Well, the VIX, I don't hate it. It's just depending on whether you think we're going to get increased tensions. If we get increased tensions with Iran and the conflict escalates and it drags on longer than expected, markets are probably going to drop in that regard. The VIX is probably going to push up. And so you betting on going long in the VIX is you betting on increased escalations. And increased escalations in Iran, you know, you could have less rate cut odds this year, you know, higher rate hike odds this year, like we saw Friday, the news come out. And essentially just increased tensions and escalations are going to make the VIX go up and the NASDAQ, S&P, Dow go down. Oil's going to go up from it, so forth and so on. So yeah, you betting on the VIX is basically betting on increased tensions and escalation. You guys red or green so far today? I had one trade this morning and I am red on that trade. I think my portfolio is pretty green now, though, with everything going on actually today. Specifically, Home Depot's green. Apple, Amazon are very green. Oracle's green. SoFi's green. Target's green. Nike's green. Microsoft, Coca-Cola's green, and more. So Moran says policy outlook remains for rate cuts. Second round effects and wages could require a rate hike. It could be highly unusual for the Fed to react to oil shock now. Expect higher inflation, but too soon to say it will hit core. Moran says the job market might still need help from monetary policy to grow further. Not enough clarity to know monetary policy should react to current events. Talks on a deal with Iran that included invoice Kushner and Witkoff and counterparts took place on Sunday night, according to Fox Business. It was corroborated by Axios as well. Moran states that the risks balance has become more dire on both sides. But what we're seeing here is that since the president, you can see the NASDAQ start to fight higher here. You can see the S&P start to fight higher here as well. Okay, so the Trump tweet saying Iran and them have been having productive talks push the market here. Iran basically denied this, pushing the market back down, pushing oil back up. And then Trump said they happened last night and gave a little bit more details about them. And so the market is rebounding here. That is the story of the market right now, chat, heading into the opening bell. That's the story. Yeah. Up 6,000. I'm green. 2 trades was red. Now green. Reclaim the 200 moving average. 3% down. And so this is the story today. Moran says Fed should not be making policy based on short-term headlines. Yeah, and I agree to a certain extent, but I also think that the best case right now is to wait and see. And so I think pausing right now makes sense because of the conflict. And if it was prior to March, I might argue a rate cut. But now, the Iran conflict making oil prices spike makes inflation worries higher, of course. So a lot of unknown right now. I think it's better to just wait by the Fed. I think that's what the Fed's doing. This has become a soap opera distraction from the failing economy. Inflation is projected to be over 5% later this year. Are we in a stagflation situation? You know, recently during the FOMC meeting, Powell actually came out saying that we were not in stagflation. He essentially said stagflation was a term they used in the late 70s or early 80s to describe a much weaker labor market and a much higher inflation situation than what we're in now. He basically said both things are close to normal now versus when that term was originally suggested to precede a recession back then, that we had much higher inflation and much worse labor. And so he said, I don't see any which is stagnant labor, and I don't see any inflation. So arrogantly, I don't know if he's arrogant. Is Powell arrogant? Maybe, I don't know. Powell's pretty neutral most of the time, I would say. Yeah. Beehives, or I send it back, guys. Yeah, join our Discord. It's completely free, doesn't cost anything. Let me know if that link works, actually. All right, guys, here we go. We got 30 minutes left until the market opens. 30 minutes. Let me look up breaking news. I think Trump says, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to... Trump just tweeted. It doesn't have anything to do with Iran or the conflict there. He's just talking about the... He's just talking about him versus the left, basically, is what he's talking about. Brent crude now under $100. Fell over 10% after the president said talks with Iran to end the war are very good. I always say it's a bull market. Look at our poll. We did a poll earlier on the day. The poll says 44% of people are bullish today after the president's tweet this morning. 36% are bearish and 20% are neutral. Progressive files to sell a 5-year and 10-year note. Bitcoin's almost to 71,000 here. Look, so it's trying to get up there. 71,000 is right here. It popped over there for a split second, though. Got up to almost 71s. See if it continues. The NASDAQ, again, most things, after the Trump gave some clarification on when the talks with Iran happened, they were indirect talks, essentially, is what they were, between other neighboring countries. Who were acting as kind of intermediaries between the two, is what they said. And markets are treating that as a good thing. And S&P up, NASDAQ up, Dow up, oil down. So what the opening bell brings, though. We're at 88.90s right now. What if you were a fly on the wall before the president's tweet? You're buying, I think. Yeah, it should be a really interesting. Yeah, I can see the map posted. All right, guys. Interesting morning today. Interesting morning. Gold and silver are going to run soon. It's an excellent entry point to precious metals and miners right now. All right, guys. Opening bell is coming here in about 27 minutes. Oil started to jump a little bit, though. It bounced off at $88 a barrel here for oil. It's at 89.40s now, approaching 90 again. All right, so the Japanese government is also considering intervention in oil futures. Yeah, I think most markets... Here's the Dow. They're going to be falling down a little bit short term. NASDAQ at 24.5s. You're a fly on the wall, you couldn't make a trade. If I was a fly, I feel like I could, you know. Did the bull flag work earlier? It looks like it kind of did, honestly. Are you guys bullish or bearish for the opening bell today? Again, looking at our poll, we got 800 plus votes. 44% said they're bullish. 36% said bearish. 20% said they're neutral here. Yeah. The Japanese government is reportedly considering interventions in oil futures. You'd have to land awful hard in them keys. I feel like if I was a fly, I could, you know. All right, guys, we're going to get ready to trade today. We are a little red here. But we're looking bullish, honestly. I think we do look bullish today right now, obviously. I think we're getting close to highs here. Here's the NASDAQ. You know, I think we're looking bullish today. NASDAQ at 570s. Obviously, we're up a lot. I'm going to look at 24,500s here. If we get down to 24,500s, I might buy this dip. Are you serious on my bull? Again, look, obviously we're up a lot from the president's tweet here. In technical patterns, we're looking a little bit more bullish. I'm looking at this level here. Most of the volume is coming in right here, though, on the volume profile for today. 24,600s. We get down to 24,500s. So let me see if any news just came out here. Hold on. I see PayPal's Venmo announces major global expansion for peer-to-peer payments. German Chancellor Merz informed President Trump about concerns regarding possible attacks on Iran's energy facilities. Told Trump about worries over Iranian power plants. What are yields doing right now? You can kind of get an idea of what markets are thinking here with in regards to yields. You can look at 5-year. I'm gonna look at 2-year, 10 years. Yeah, 2-year yields are currently at 3.86%. So yields are net green from all of this stuff going on. And remember, yields and interest rate sentiment follows each other. So if something makes a hawkish bet, yields are going to go up. If something makes a dovish move, yields are going to go down. President's tweets so far today have been seen as overwhelmingly dovish according to yields. Lower oil means less inflation, means potentially lower interest rate sentiment. I might buy 24,500s if we get down here, though, but I think it's risky. I don't think it's easy to make. With all the stuff going on today, I don't think it's easy to find good trades to get in. Yeah. Did I blow the camera down? Ugh. All right, I'm back. All right, guys. We are going to be day trading at the opening bout today. We'll see what we get. Hey, what's up, Faye? That's why I said I'm bearish for FOMC. I'm bullish on Monday. I took one trade today. I'm trying to be careful here. And so we're going to take some trades today, but I'm trying to be careful today. I don't think it's easy to trade this price action. I should have held the trade I got into. Just to put this into perspective, I decided to buy it long here. I don't know if it was here. I'm just exaggerating to make myself look bad. I should have held. Yeah, Friday we dropped noticeably. Why did we drop Friday? Much higher interest rate sentiment. People started projecting. If we take a look at the Fed watch tool, we can see why we dropped on Friday. Now this might have changed, but the reason we dropped so much on Friday specifically is because prior to the Iran conflict, markets were pricing in 1 to 2 rate cuts a year. Yeah, 1 to 2 rate cuts a year. Now, 8.3% chance we raise rates next month. By June, there's about a 15% chance we raise rates by June. By July, there's about a 16 to 70% chance we raise rates by June. By September, a 21% chance we raise rates by June. By October, there is a 25% chance roughly that we raise rates by October. By December, there's still a 68% chance that we pause. We don't raise any rates. We don't cut rates. So that's the majority outlook. But there is a 25% chance roughly that we raise rates by the end of the year. So that is why markets cratered a little bit on Friday. A lot of fears happened in Power Hour. I just bought a Lucas. Hey, well, thank Lucas for me. You know, Lucas is the GOAT. No, you're meaning Lucid. I'm just joking. Yeah, I appreciate the support. Again, check out Lucid. You want to help support the channel. We're going to be day trading today. And listen, guys, everything I do here is free. We don't sell a course. We don't sell a service. You can use my coupon code BT on Lucid. BT, beginner trading, BT, 2 letters. Get you the max discount. I think for new users, it's 50% off their first 2 times. Again, if you want to check out Lucid, some of the best rules in the game here. They paid out over 60 million traders. They have over 50,000 traders on Lucid. Average payout time is 15 minutes. Once you transition to Lucid Live, you can withdraw funds daily. There's no payout windows. 90-10 profit split once you're funded. Super clear and simple rules. You can also go direct to funded here with Lucid, which is nice. You can get funded for $238 if you want to just go direct here. There's an end of day drawdown on Lucid. No daily loss limit on the base one here, so pretty good here. And I think it just makes sense. I think it makes sense. If you want to check out Lucid, I'll put the link up. You can help support the channel. They are a sponsor affiliate of mine. I'm biased. I get paid by them, but genuinely useful, I think. Again, use coupon code BT if you want to help support the channel. Yeah, I'm checking breaking news here now, but I appreciate it, Dom. I'm just going to assume you're Dominic Toretto. Oil price shock equals inflation shock, which is rate hike is necessary. Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily against that argument. I don't necessarily want us to raise rates. I think we should keep rates where they're at now for a while. See what happens with everything. See when this settles. See what oil's looking like in a couple months. I think that's the most reasonable stance here you can make for all this stuff is just let's leave them. So that is what I think we should get. But again, let me know what you guys think. Should we cut rates this year? Should we raise rates? Should we pause rates for the rest of the year? What do you guys think right now? Let me know. Yeah, I'm neutral mostly. Right now, I think there's too much unknown regarding everything, regarding the labor market, regarding inflation, regarding oil, regarding the conflict. I'm pretty neutral with all of this. cut, neutral, put them to 0 and watch the world burn. Hike rates. All right, guys, you ready? Yeah, Nasdaq still kind of dipping down some here. Here's the Dow. Dow at 46.74s. Here's the Nasdaq. Here's the S&P 500 at 66.76. All right, guys. Opening bell is almost here. We have 15 minutes left. 50 minutes left. So the state position on restricted moves has not changed. It will not change. Yeah, I mean, obviously the president's trying to get that straight open. Bring the price of oil down. What do you think would be the outcome if they cut rates? Rate cuts generally, if they're small, are not going to contribute to higher inflation in any like super deep way. You know, printing would. But I think right now the best bet is just to keep rates steady for now. I don't know if the optics are necessarily good for rate cuts right now, in spite of everything going on. And so I'm kind of somewhere in the middle here. I'm okay with pausing. Hey, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, OG. Bought Bitcoin, 68,000. Bitcoin's looking nice too today. Bitcoin at 70,000+ right now. So we'll be flying within the opening bell. Yeah, we'll see, my friend. We'll see. Let's take a look at some levels here, though. I'm going to talk about some levels here. I think on the S&P 500, I'm going to look at the volume profile. And, yeah, let's see what we get. So here's the ES. I think, I'm going to cut some of this. I think the big levels to watch for, there's a couple different ones that are obvious. Not even using the volume profile. 6,700 acting as resistance right now. Whole dollar number. I think this high up here, obviously, at 67.5. Another whole dollar number. The low of this range, very clear level here. 25 is what I'm going to call it. And again, if we get down to there, maybe I'll buy it. I think the low of the day, obviously, down here makes sense to pay attention to. But I think you could probably call it 6,500 as well. Just because I think, and even in terms of like the point of control, it's close enough to the 6,500 level to make it relevant here. So this is the range I'm looking for in the S&P. I think if we start to get down here, right? So if we start to get down to this area here, we've got an assortment of different signals showing up right here. I think we have the 200 exponential moving average right there. We have the previous closing price, you know, so the 200 exponential is right around this level. We have the previous closing price right here, right around this level. We have this main support area. So this area right here makes sense. We got the 200 exponential, the volume weighted average price, and the previous close. We're in a pretty tight range right here. And so I think a lot of volume is probably going to be consolidated to this area here. If you look at it. And if we're looking at the S&P 500 as well, I think, where's this? This is about, what, 6,600? Yeah, if you look at 6,600 here, even on the volume profile, like if you look at this here, you see you got like a high volume node sitting right around 6,600. Or what is this level at? Yeah. So I think this 66.25 level is the one that makes a lot of sense. 650 as well. But so we'll look at these major levels to see if they have any type of influence on them. Towards the opening bell on the S&P, What are you guys trading? Let's see. Mean Machine say, you guys, what are you guys trading? S&P, Q, Bitcoin, blue chips. Where's the volume for today? I'm trading futures, potentially stocks, if we see some value in stocks today. I usually trade the NASDAQ or the S&P. I look at the Dow, though. And the NASDAQ, I think we could look at the same thing here. Here's the NQ. Relevant levels, obviously, the high of the day up here is going to be important. This 24,750 level right here is what we're watching. The low right here at 350 even, I think makes sense. Previous closing price at 220s. The volume weighted average price is also sitting right there. The volume weighted average price in the 200 exponential at right around 24,200s here. I think that's a relevant level. If we're talking about big milestone levels, though, I think you have to look at 24,000 right here. I think a lot of people are watching 24K. I'm going to make this actually a different color so I can see it. I'm going to make this color here because I think 24,000 is going to be potentially a line in the sand. It's where the entire gap fill reverses back down. So we get back under 24,000. All of the bullish sentiment from the president's tweets earlier are going to be retraced on the day. And so that's what I'm looking at right here. 24,600 could be a little bit shorter term of a level that the markets are going back and forth over or under. See what happens here. John, you would benefit from turning the point of control, the value area low, value area high. I actually have it on my other charts here, Sam. So I'm looking at a lot of those on my other charts, to be honest. So you guys only have one chart. And Toss puts the volume profile on the right, which I don't necessarily like. I like it on the left. And so, but I appreciate it. Yeah, you're right. Those are value area low, super useful. So is the high. Gives you guys a little bit of the daily range, big levels on the daily. The stock market was down huge earlier this morning, and some news must have happened because the market is rebounding. Yeah, LG. So what you're talking about is Friday rate hike odds increased a lot. Oil spiked. Market fears were really high. This morning, the president tweeted saying that we've been having constructive talks with Iran and that he's going to do a 5-day pause to strikes. That is the reason the NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow made this move right here. It's all on that specific stuff. And so the spikes that we got here were from that specific stuff. Now, immediately after the president tweeted this, Iran basically denied it, saying that no direct or indirect talks had happened. Okay, and so that's when we started to kind of fall back down here like this. Then a couple other countries did confirm that indirect talks had been happening. Now, the way these talks have been happening apparently were through intermediaries. So other countries were relaying messages between like Witkoff and more. And so, like I said, both sides are not necessarily wrong, although it's hard to tell. But the Trump and others did clarify that some indirect talks had happened last night, he said. And so this has made markets rip back up, oil prices fall back down. You can see WTI crude currently sitting at 90-80s, but it's not stable right now. Nothing's easy to really bet on here, I would say. You can change which side the volume. Yeah, I have to do that. I usually just look at TradingView, to be honest. Their HD volume profile usually is pretty nice. Yeah, like if you look at my TradingView charts here, I'll try to show you. We got the value area high, value area low, point of control down here, right around 24,000. It's another reason I'm looking at 24K. If we get down to 24K, I'm really curious to see what happens there. But any bearish signal rate cuts or raise would be de-escalatory since Mr. President is very reactive to market movements. All right, guys, 8 minutes until the open here. 8 minutes. All right, guys, look at oil. Oil's almost back up to 91s here, though, so it's not like oil's doing good. And when I say good, I mean low. Even Bitcoin pumps this morning. Yo, chat, can you explain what this prop term stuff is? Yeah, so I was explaining this to my friend yesterday. Hold on. So the Chinese foreign minister is speaking right now. Also, an Israeli official said, quote, "We do not see an imminent end to the war and we plan to continue operations while avoiding targeting energy facilities." China's foreign minister says we should step up cooperation in all fields, should effectively manage disputes. But yeah, to go back to the prop firm stuff. So you got to understand a couple things, right? The first thing is, like, if you want to day trade stocks and you want to be able to go long and short in a margin account, the PDT rule restricts you from it. You need to have $25,000 in equity in a margin account to be able to day trade actively, more than 3 times like a week specifically per the PDT. It's called the pattern day trading rule, which is ridiculous because that's like saying, hey, brand new driver, you can only drive a Rolls Royce for your first car. Stupid. Why? Because you're going to lose that first account. You put up 25 grand, you're probably going to lose that first account. And so it makes no sense to do so. Instead, you can limit your risk and try what's called a prop firm. In the futures market, there's not that restriction. And so in the futures market, you can't day trade stocks, but single stock futures might be coming this summer, but you can day trade indexes. So S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell. You can trade commodities, gold, silver, oil, and you can day trade them actively without restriction. And so these prop firms basically say, hey, look, we'll give you a demo. We'll test your skill with the demo account first. It's a kind of a middle ground of learning. If you fail, you're only out what you pay for the monthly, for the challenge. You're only out, usually it's less than $100 depending on which one you choose. If you pass it, we'll fund you and split profits with you 90%. And so new traders and traders that maybe don't have that much money can get access to leverage and potential profits with less risk, generally, is what it is, right? I promote 3 main ones. I promote Lucid, which has direct to funded options, which are really useful. Those are great. Again, there's no PDT in future, so it gets you access to that. You can see that one pinned at the top of the chat. I also like Take Profit as well. Like Take Profit Trader. They have some great rules also. They don't have a trailing drawdown. And so a lot of, companies have a lot of differing rules. One of the things that's bad is trailing drawdowns. Trailing drawdowns versus end of day drawdowns are obviously not the recommended one. Like, it's better to have an end of day drawdown, meaning like if your drawdown is $1,500 in losses, if you use the end of day, say you're at 25,000, right? That would make 23,500 your drawdown for that day. If it trails you intraday, then it follows you up essentially. And so you have less room to make profits with the trailing intraday drawdown. And so Take Profit is really good in that regard as well. With Take Profit, you can also take daily withdrawals once you're funded, right? So you can withdraw every day if you build up profit every day. If you don't, so forth and so on. So really, really useful with them as well. And again, if you want to check them out, you can get their 25K, $150 a month for Take Profit. But you get 40% off if you use my coupon code. So, if you want to check out Take Profit, I'll put the link up for them as well here. If you use Take Profit, you want to use coupon code BG for Take Profit. It's 40% off. There's also no activation fee. So when you activate your account, there's no activation fee with Take Profit. So it's useful. And so you can use coupon code BG with Apex or Take Profit. But if you use Take Profit, no activation fee and more. So, I mean, most day traders are still going to lose, right? Just to get this in, like, I try to be real with people about it. Most day traders are going to lose. Doesn't matter what course you take, who your mentor is. I know everybody's out there saying you can get rich, and maybe you can, but most day traders are going to lose. Let's just be real about it. And so, does it make sense to fund your own account? No. You just got to be smart and limit your risk while you're learning. For even the ones that do end up being successful, it generally takes them years to make money. And so these are kind of like a middle ground that allow you to get exposure, but less, like generally less risk. I say generally because there's always going to be people there's always going to be outliers. Anyways, we're heading into the opening bell, guys. We got a minute and a half left here. A minute and a half left. Let's see what we get today. We're going to be day trading futures, the NASDAQ specifically. NASDAQ is right around 24,500s here. So we are right around 24,500. This is a funded Lucid account. Right around 24,500s. Let's see what we get today at the opening bell, guys. Again, bullish or bearish heading into the open. Goolsby said I could see circumstances where we need to raise rates. Austin Goolsby, Fed member. I'm telling you, you can't trade stocks, Tesla, more than day trading stocks or Tesla or Apple or Amazon or whatever, more than 3 times a week if in a margin account if you don't have 25 grand in equity. It's the most ridiculous rule ever. Like I said, it's like, hey, brand new trader, you got to trade a Rolls Royce for your first ever account. You know, ridiculous. Most traders are going to lose their first couple accounts. Making them day trade a 25 grand account basically ensures they lose 25 grand. And really, it's just a rule that the banks can sit on your money and earn a little bit more interest. There's the opening bell, guys. Let's see what we get. NASDAQ right at 24,500s here on the NQ. Right at 24.5s. Yeah, I'm watching the VIX. The NASDAQ is falling since the opening bell. Look at the NASDAQ dip here. Oil. Almost to 91, still a little elevated from where it was, but look at the S&P 500 dip down. It's at 66.4, 66.5s. All right, we're at 66,500s here on the S&P. We're looking at some of these levels we have on our charts. Look at that 66,500 level. See if we hold. We're kind of approaching this range right here in the chart. Number one, I do see, hold on. We're starting to approach this range I have on my chart where I'm sure we're going to have a lot of volume around this area. 200 exponential, big milestone level, previous closing price, volume weighted average price, all in this range here, guys. So maybe it acts as support, the top of that range. All right, so an Israeli press citing an Israeli official says that Israel is likely to stop any attacks on power stations and infrastructure. Let's see what the opening bell brings us here, though. First move is the wrong move. PDT rule is not bad if you're just starting. But if you want to learn day trading, restricting, like there's so much variance in day trading. You know, like you're going to have so much variance in day trading that it's one of those situations in which you're not going to really be able to learn with 3 day trades a week. You know, trading's a lot like poker in that regard where, you know, you got to get your reps in to really learn it. And like, that's like saying, hey, somebody learn poker, but you can only take 3 hands a week. All right, think about how long it would take to learn that. And that's where the prop firms are useful because they get you like you can learn. You still have some pressure, but not the full extent of trading, you know, 25 grand. Yeah, I'm waiting here, guys. We're at 66.5s right now. Right now, the market's kind of stabilizing a little bit here, though. Here's oil. Oil's dipping. Nvidia was over 175. It's at 177s now since the opening bell. It just bounced the VWAP 200 exponential. Here's Meta. Meta's down. Microsoft at 385s. Alphabet at 301s. Again, here's the Dow. The Dow's actually fading a little bit. So is the S&P, but not as much. NASDAQ's kind of stable. We're under 24,500s here, though. Yeah, we're waiting to trade, but I have to wait at least a little while to let this stuff play out first. I'm not really trying to get involved in the first 5 minutes today. I don't think I'm not really having any easy momentum with it. We're at 3.865 million, 3.865. Is the VIX pumping? The VIX is kind of a slow reactor, but it's up a little bit. really we've had the last 5 minutes is just chop. Like, look, here's the last 5 candles on the NASDAQ. It's just sideways. You can trade with the cash account even if it's not 25K. Sure, but you can't go short. You have to go long. You can trade inverse ETFs, but you have to wait for your money to settle every day as well. So it's not, you're not going to have any, like, it's not going to be free to trade. It's still difficult. Yeah, you can paper trade. Paper trade, you're not risking anything. So it's kind of like, are you really going to learn paper trading? I don't know. Yeah, we basically haven't moved this morning, though, guys. Look how slow this is. I can't trade this right now. I have to wait. Let the opening bell play out a little bit longer. Yeah, so far we haven't moved at all right now. What do you guys see right here? Yeah, I remember when I first started paper trading, I would basically just keep adding to it until I won. And then I'd be like, "Hey guys, look at me. I can make money." Yeah. When they give you 250 in leverage paper, it's easy to just click buttons. All right, guys. I think perfect balance between believers and doubters. Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a balance right now. Although we're starting to push to the bottom end of this range. We'll see what happens. We gotta wait for it, I think. Yeah, we got just so much balance right now. We're just not doing anything here. We're not doing anything. We're at 24 fives, almost 24 fives. Let's see if we hold. Super Micro shares are down apparently as well here. Look at Super Micro. Got a 19.6s here, 19.6s. Yeah, look, markets are flat right now since the opening bell. Although, look at the S&P 500 right at the 200 exponential here. So like I said, we're kind of hitting this range right here. Between the previous closing price, the 200 exponential, the volume weighted average price. The buyers are stepping in as of now here at the top of this range. Let's see if this holds though. 200 exponential is still a really good moving average indicator here. 66.35s. We're at 66.50s. Look at Bitcoin and Ether going up. Yeah, Bitcoin is now... I got too many windows up in my charts. Bitcoin is now all the way over, just over 71,000 here. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin doing okay right now. It looks like a bounce here, but it's still early. Yeah, gold has been on a really big drop here. Gold's starting to fight its way back. The tweet, you know, helped gold push back up, but gold was already in the state of a rebound here. What's negatively impacted gold, though, is what's negatively impacting gold is higher rate cut odds, or higher rate hike odds this year. Because higher rate cut odds means higher interest rate sentiment, which means bonds are paying out more and less people might buy gold. Also means maybe markets going down, liquidations could force people to sell what's liquid that they have, which is gold. A lot of stuff dragging gold down over the past couple weeks here since the conflict started. All right, so here's the E-mini here. We're still having trouble finding any type of big move right now. I think we just have a little bit of balance in markets. Although the last couple minutes we have gone green. We're over 24,500 here. I'm trying to be patient and wait to trade here, guys. We are going to trade today, but I need to be patient and just kind of wait for it, I think. We're at 24,520s on the NASDAQ. Shouldn't gold be falling? Well, you know, the tweet by the president made gold push. Why? Because it means if we have stability in the Middle East, it means cheaper oil, means less inflation, you know, lower interest rate sentiment, bonds pay less potential liquidations, you know, yields are lower in bonds, so maybe people buy gold again because they're getting lower yields and other risk off assets. There's a lot of like nuance with gold. God, do you like to stay up and watch after hours? Sedatives? Dude, I don't take sedatives, brother. I gotta get up every morning. The market opens up, like the stream starts at 6:15 a.m. Texas time. So, also, I fall asleep like a freaking baby most of the time, dude. In fact, I can't even watch a movie. Carol gets mad because we'll put on a movie. And I'll fall asleep in like 10 minutes. So. All right, so we're sideways still here, guys. I'm looking for an opening range breakout here, though. So we are going to watch the opening range, which as of now is right around here. We did just get a big pop here in the NASDAQ, though. Look at that retracement candle here. We just got a big rebound. Let me see if there's any news here, but I got news earlier that Supreme Court refuses to hear Eli Lilly's Takeda appeal for Actos fraud. Trump says Iran needs better public relations people. We'll see where talks lead. U.S. President Trump. Again, Trump said, we'll see where talks lead. Quote, Iran needs better public relations people. End quote. Markets are kind of interpreting this as slightly positive, though, that I'm seeing. This came out not that long ago. Markets are pushing back higher here. Is that true? Most people are saying it's a lie, but NASDAQ, S&P, Dow are interpreting it as good. S&P, NASDAQ, Dow both pushing up. We're at 24,540s. Markets are approaching highs here. It looks bullish. I would just be careful right now, guys. Put this up. Again, you can use BT for Lucid or Apex. Watch it. Look at the market open, though, guys. This has not been a good market open here. We have a range that we're watching. Like, I'm looking at the opening range, but we're kind of over it now. Just going to use a 15-minute range here. All right, so Trump said Iran would like to make a deal. We would like to make a deal too. Iran needs better public relations people in responding to a question about their denial of talks. He said, I've not yet heard from Ayatollah's son, the supreme leader. We'll get together with Iran probably by phone. If they carry through, we will end this conflict. And that he hopes to settle this. He said discussions were on Sunday into evening. They want to make a deal. We want to make a deal too. We'll talk today, probably by phone. Hope to meet soon. Hope to settle this. The U.S. talked to the Iranian top respected leader. Talk to top leadership. Yeah, but who? He said we have major point of agreement. Witkoff, Kushner had talks. If they carry through, we'll end this conflict. All right, so we got the opening range right here, 15 minutes into the day. We will trade this opening range. Kind of a tight opening range, but we're going to look at it. Here's the range right here. You can see all the volume centralized to this short term though, so we got to look for maybe a retest of like this area here, 460s. Again, the U.S. President on Iran says we have had strong talks. We're getting to the top of the range here, but yeah, we've had strong talks. I walk in a room and they're like, wow, those talks are strong. And I'm like, I know, fabulous strong talks. We're at 520s right now, 530s on the NASDAQ here. U.S. Trump says the $200 billion military funding would be nice to have. Have not from the Ayatollah's son, supreme leader. If deal happens, it's a great start for Iran and a great for the region overall. Talk to top leadership. Talk to Iranian top respected leader. Yeah, but who, though, is the question, you know? Like, which leader did you talk to? I think that clarification is important. Market's not doing anything right now. Ooh. What are you guys buying right now? Yeah, again, here's the open. We have not moved barely at all. We're slightly green from the opening bell. Very slow right now, very slow. Nothing's really going on here. Nike, Super Micro. Nike's pretty cheap, huh? Let's take a look. Here's Nike. Nike's at 53 twos. All right, so we're starting to push towards the top of the range, actually, as soon as I turn the chart off. We're over that opening range here. I'll look for a dip at like 550s maybe, but I think it's risky. But we'll try. There we go. All right, we're nicely green. I'm gonna give this a little bit longer here, see if it keeps pushing higher. Okay, we bounced off of my entry here. Let's see if it holds. I'm gonna take half of this off and then maybe add back here though. What I did, maybe add to it if it goes deeper in the green. It's just kind of, there we go. That's better. I think it's safer to do that. Where's my music? There it is. All right, so far so good. Trump on Iran, possibility of U.S. troops. We don't talk strategy. Don't think they are getting any oil money on Iran. Very easy to take enriched uranium ourselves if we have a deal. Yeah, if you are day trading right now, just be careful because he is like openly speaking right now. I'm going to cut this break even here. Maybe buy back if we get down to 550. Here's 550. Buy this. Then maybe add a little bit to it here. If we get some volume surging back up. There we go. Take half of that off. There we go. Yeah, that point of control area here. I don't know if it's a point of control, but it's a high volume node right there. Easy money on the bounce. There we go. We're gonna cut it right there. Maybe add back. See what yields are doing. Oh, yields are just kind of consolidating around 4.34%. They're actually starting to fall down. So yields and interest rate sentiment is starting to get a little bit lower. Probably on oil. Let me see what oil's doing. Here's oil. Oil at 88.70s. 88.70s. Did I miss any news this morning, Kane? If you're talking about all of this morning, yes, you did, bro. Yes, you did. Just to recap, President tweeted this morning after giving a 48-hour deadline for them to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He tweeted this morning. I am pleased to report that the U.S. and America and the country of Iran have had over the last few days very good and productive conversations regarding complete and total resolution of our hostilities. Based on the tenure and tone, these in-depth constructive conversations will continue throughout the week. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes for 5 days. Immediately after that, that made markets gap up substantially. Oil fall, like you can see on it here. Here's the S&P 500. This is what caused this big rebound back up. Pretty shortly after, though, Iranian media disputed those claims, and we came right back down. But then we got a little bit more clarification that there were kind of indirect talks with neighboring countries. And so kind of somewhere in the middle, right? But markets are interpreting this as bullish. Markets are pushing up right now. S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, both rising here. And again, I have a bullish sentiment right now, but we'll look to see if we get another dip here. I'll look for a pullback to like 550s again if we get it. Maybe 24,500. Did I say that too fast? Yeah, I mean, I've already covered it a bunch of times, so I'm just trying to very briefly cover it and not ignore price action too much. So, Energy Secretary Wright says the Iran is a conflict that we couldn't kick down the road. He states that the U.S. desire to supply oil to Asian refineries and aims to minimize any economic downturn. He says the Iran conflict will slow down the U.S. housing market because of higher costs, according to Fitch, actually. So Fitch is actually saying that the Iran conflict is going to hurt housing prices because of higher costs and lower demand, make the recovery take longer. Iran conflict to delay U.S. housing recovery. Trump also says attacking their power plants would be a different move than what Russia is doing in Ukraine. Oil supply problem, according to Energy Secretary Wright, is most intense in Asia. And U.S. President on Iran, Trump on Iran, says, I think it was an imminent threat. All right, so we are dipping down in the NASDAQ here. I think some of these quotes are impacting things. He said, discussions about energy need to be less political. Again, this is after Fitch says that the Iran conflict will delay housing recovery due to cost and demand headwinds. Sustained high oil prices will increase input costs while simultaneously weakening housing demand, according to him. This could be what caused this little dip. He's from Louisiana. He's from Louisiana. Give him a break. We should be glad he enunciates. I would say I'm one of the top 3 enunciators in the world right now. I just read fast, guys. Listen, if y'all can't keep up, you know, don't get mad at me for it, all right? I can't help it. I just say I'm the top 3 fastest reader ever. Yeah, I saw one of these guys, one of these like scammers on social media, and the scammer literally did something like this. Scammer would go, yeah, guys, you could buy my fast reading course, and he would be like, yeah, I'm reading like this, and he would just. I'm sitting there like, dude, get the heck out of here, bro. Nobody's reading anything. Somebody bought that course, though, you know it. So he's saying home prices will go down, Chase, is what he's saying. Which some people would argue we need. Yeah, I can't remember where I saw this from, but it was a guy trying to sell some type of course on speed reading, and I'm sitting there like, dude, sit down. The only people buying that course are freaking... Never mind. I was going to say idiots, but I guess that's true. People that might not be the smartest are going to be buying that course, you know? That guy watched the movie Limitless way too much, you know? Yeah, so Jim Cramer tweeted that about 2 hours ago. So Stoic says, Jim Cramer, Bulls rule for the morning. Jim Cramer tweeted that. I saw that. Jim Cramer tweeted that post here. This post right here that you can see on the bottom. He tweeted that 2 hours ago, immediately after the president's tweet about relations with Iran going good. That is when Jim Cramer tweeted that. So. Limitless is a niche movie? I disagree with that. I think everybody watches. Have you guys seen the movie Limitless? I don't think it's niche at all. Alright guys, Spy at 660s. Have you seen the Limitless movie, guys? Let me know. Yes? I'm waiting to trade this, guys. It's just not easy to trade. I might buy this right here. If we can get a little dip here. We're green on the day, but not much. We might have a little range to attack here. We'll try it. We got a cushion on the day we can risk. I'm not going to add to it, though. There we go. Oh my gosh, I just cut the trade immediately, dude. I didn't mean to cut the trade that fast. Yeah, everybody's seen Limitless. I probably watched it more than 5 times, too. Just because I watch movies, and then if I like it, I'll show them to my kids. And, yeah, I've probably seen that movie a bunch, too. There's some day trading in the movie, so traders, I'm sure, probably enjoy the movie Limitless. The series, I don't... Yeah, I don't know. So Trump on Iran said, quote, they have agreed to no nuclear weapons, end quote. Construction spending also released. It came in at negative 0.3%. Trump on Iran says, I don't consider Khamenei's son the leader. I like 21 as well. I don't take any nootropics. The problem with nootropics is I think some of them probably work. So Trump just said Hormuz will be open very soon if it works. The problem with nootropics is I think there's a lot of placebo effect there. I'm not saying some of them don't work, but I think you pay more attention to stuff when you feel like it's working. You know, I think there's a lot of placebo effect there. I'm not saying that it's all of it. If you like nootropics, don't get mad at me. But so far the range has been pretty flat here, guys. I am green on the day though, trading this. Well, yeah, a bunch of different sources said that there weren't any talks going on. Apparently, the talks were between Witkoff and a couple other people with indirectly with other countries related to it that were passing on messages to Iran is what the talks actually were. At least that's what we're hearing. All right, here's the NASDAQ push here, but still struggling to hold. Look at that candle here, though. We got some volume interest here. Right here. 600s. All right, so Trump on Iran says there are 15 points of agreement. The price will drop like a rock as soon as there's a deal. will be very serious form of regime change. Maybe we find a leader like we did in Venezuela, and that the Strait of Hormuz will be open very soon if this works, according to the U.S. president. I don't trust market action today. I don't think it's easy to trade here. I mean, we're ranging over the I'm looking at 550 right here. Let's see if 550 causes a bounce. We're close enough to it. But markets are kind of tumbling down fast, though, so make sure there's no reason for this. Yeah, but the president said there are 15 points of agreement between Iran and the U.S. in their negotiations. There's 550s here. We just crashed right through it. Hold on. Let's see if anything's going on right now to cause this. It's 10:04 right now, guys. 10:04. Yeah, there's really just balance over the past... we're starting to get more bearish action. But over the past 20-25 minutes, we've really had balance here. But the NASDAQ starting to tumble back down now. I'll look at 550 rejection here if we retrace back up here. But sometimes we could also rise back higher and hold. So I'm going to wait and see if we get that. Social media faded and more. Like, I use social media and a bunch of other stuff for news. All right, big retracement back higher. I will buy a 550 pullback if we get one now. It needs to be a large enough one, though. Maybe a rejection here at 570s. Come back down to 550s. I'm going to buy 550s right here. Give it a second. See if this pop back happens to the top of the range. There we go. Let's take half or a piece of that off just to protect. I could be a little bit looser with it now. A little bit more loose. Take half off. Easy money. I'm gonna take that off right there. Now this is a volume profile strategy that uses a little bit of everything, and the logic of this is this, right? Let me show you guys. So you have a range here. You break down underneath this range and then immediately form back higher and push up. A lot of the time we're going to go back up to test the top of the range, and we're just going to continue in that range is what the strategy is, if that makes sense. A little bit more nuanced than that, but you got a high volume area right here in this range. So once we get back into that, it's more likely that we're just going to go sideways into that range in the high volume area. Hope that makes sense. All right, so on more breaking news here, Trump said he's not guaranteeing anything in the Iran deal. So there's 15 points of agreement between the U.S. and them. Will be a very serious form of regime change. The price will drop like a rock of oil if there is a deal. Yeah, this price action sucks though here, guys. I mean, we're range trading this mostly, but if this level holds right here, 550. I'm trading with a funded account program. This is a Lucid funded account here. Yeah, we're trading with the Lucid funded account. We're kind of building up the initial profit here in this, to be honest. And so you can kind of see my actual results in this account so far. They're small, but we're kind of building up profit here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green days, 5 out of 6 green days here. You can see my profit graph here as well. It's small, guys. Like I said, we just started this account, so it's small. But there's my profit graph in the account so far, so it's doing okay. I need to build up a decent enough cushion to swing in it, so that's what we're doing. But we hit our 5 day, we made about 600 or so in this account already. We got our 5 days of profit. So really, we could withdraw now if we wanted, but I'm not going to. I'm trying to build up a cushion. Hey, thank you, Freddie. All right, so apparently in the coming weeks, Saudi Aramco is planning to sell a stake in its oil export and storage terminal business in the coming weeks. All right, guys, so far, are you guys red or green today? Red or green? Yeah, I mean, this is just from some sources. Mario Bartiromo is reporting that the president says they want to make a deal badly. So this is news sources here. But these are just some sources that he's talking to. All right, so we're pushing back up to the top of the range here. Here's a high volume node. Is that the point of control short term? Probably. Here. Sideways range is sideways, guys. Green, green, green. Can't complain. Made 1,000 a day. Again, you want to help support the channel? Check out Lucid. Great way to help support the channel. Most day traders lose money, but Lucid has some great rules for their traders. Great rules. And yeah, I'll show you guys the Lucid page real quick. Yeah, here's the Lucid page. 60 million paid to traders, 500,000 or 50,000 plus on Lucid, 15-minute average payout time. Once you're in live funded, you can withdraw funds daily. But even before that, you got a 90-10 split, no payout windows, clear and simple rules. You can get direct to funded here on Lucid as well, 238. If you use my coupon code BT at checkout, BT. You can use the same code with Apex also. You can see it pinned at the top of the chat as well if you really want to see it. But we're starting to get to the top of this range. We'll see if we hold. Yeah, it looks like the president might be done speaking, maybe. Let me see. The U.S. is warning that the European Union to pass trade deal or risk losing favorable access to LNG, liquefied natural gas. Yeah, I'm not going to redirect to the next stream. I'm going to wait and see what the big story is and then title the stream that. Kind of want to buy this, but we already... How much are we up today right now? We're up something. Let me see. Yeah, we're up a couple hundred on the day. Or right around that. Yeah, we're just sitting tight. I'm probably going to cut out of here, guys, to be honest. Yeah, I'm probably going to cut out of here. Market's too choppy. We are getting to the top of the range, though, so we're looking a little bit more optimistic here. Let's watch this 600 level. We could bounce right at 6, which it kind of looks like we are. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here. Hey, y'all be good. Have a great day. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We appreciate the love. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see what the market does for the rest of the day. And yeah, y'all just be careful. Y'all just be careful. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow, bright and early. Tomorrow, we do have the ADP non-farm employment weekly report from ADP data coming out 8:15 market time. So be ready tomorrow. We do have some stuff going on tomorrow. We also have non-farm productivity, a revision for non-farm productivity tomorrow. We got flash services and manufacturing PMI, which is kind of the first look at March. So, right. So flash services and manufacturing tomorrow is the first look at March. It's relevant to watch. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good. Have a great day. Remember, guys, I am not an investment professional. We're not liable if you lose money. Always make your own assessment. Trade smart. I can't guarantee anything. And we'll see what the market does today. Y'all be good. Market's actually starting to approach highs right as we speak here. So we'll see what happens. Y'all be safe. If you want to check out any of our links, you can use coupon code BT on Apex, BT on Lucid. You can use coupon code BG if you're on Take Profit. And yeah, y'all have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Y'all